While most parents dream of their children's future jobs, they will recommend higher-level jobs such as doctor or judge, as all jobs ending with the letter SA are well recognized. Or at least a civil servant because it's a stable job. None of the parents want their children to go through such a difficult and thorny path. However, in his case, the man was a little different. His mother wanted her son to become a shaman. Those were his mother's words when his father died early and he grew up together with his little sister. Although his family is not very poor, he still wants to earn money by studying hard and becoming a doctor, scientist, or developer. However, what his mother recommended was simply unreasonable. The man became rebellious and went against his mother's wishes. He insisted that he did not want to become a shaman. His mother said that if he didn't become a shaman, he would have bad luck in a few years. But still, the man did not believe it. All that man did was study hard and live a normal profession like an ordinary person. But after more than 10 years had passed, he died in a car accident. It just doesn't make any sense. About what his mother said at that time turned out to be true, and what surprised him was that what happened after he died was him being reborn as a teacher in a magic academy. How could this happen? A mechanical engineering locomotive emitting pure white steam arrived at the station. The sound of compressed steam escaping as iron resounded. The passengers waiting at the station got on the train one by one, and seeing that scene, the man took a deep breath before getting on the train. It felt like his body became cleaner as fresh air seeped into his lungs. The sky was clear without a cloud, and in the cold air of the winter that had just ended, he could even feel a pleasant, refreshing feeling. The train departure time to Exilian Empire is short. The man raised his hand and lightly rubbed his face. A strange feeling was felt between the gloved hand and the skin. The mask is firmly attached. He had to hide his identity, so it couldn't be helped. The man boarded the train at a natural pace so as not to arouse suspicion. An officer was seen checking his train ticket. While boarding the train, the conductor spoke to him. He took out a ticket from the pocket of the jacket he was wearing and handed it over. After receiving the conductor's respectful greeting, Gerald responded with a light nod. When Gerald checked the ticket that was handed to him, it had the number 403 written on it. In other words, it was the third room of the fourth carriage. The passage was narrow, but long enough for one person to pass through, and there was a large gap in the door on one side. The magic engineering carriage that was riding wasn't called a luxury carriage for nothing, so all the seats in the long corridor were divided into several rooms. After checking the sign, he opened the door and entered. The moment he opened the door, he could smell old wood. It's not very fancy inside, but it has everything. Love seats are divided on the left and right, and storage space where luggage can be placed. And even signal bells are installed, so passengers can call the staff if they need anything. Gerald didn't have a heavy luggage bag, so Gerald moved his body and sat down lightly. Even the seats are soft because it's a luxurious carriage. As Gerald looked out the window, a wide view of the northern mountains caught Gerald's attention. The towering, steep mountain peaks were covered in pure white snow, like a giant wearing a white conical hat. The train will soon pass through those mountain passes. Gerald was once an ordinary member of society living in Korea. Of course, that was Gerald's previous life, and Gerald died in a car accident. After that, he awakens in the present world, a mysterious world where magic and science coexist, very different from Earth. Here, Gerald begins a new second life. Exilian Empire. The largest and most powerful nation on the continent. It is the birthplace of magic engineering, where magic and machines coexist equally, and where wizards and magic towers exist. Gerald is heading to the Empire now. Gerald took out the information pamphlet that was taped to the side of Gerald's chair and checked its contents. The final destination of the magic engineering train, which was currently scheduled to depart, was the imperial capital. However, there cannot be a direct train from one country's border to another country's capital. There are 2 stops along the way. Leathervelk was the first, and in some ways can be seen as a more famous city than its capital. This is the place where the Magic Academy, the dream of all aspiring wizards, is located. Decades have passed since Gerald started living a second life, but there are still many things Gerald can't adjust to. There must have been a sense of detachment from my previous life, but the academy had nothing to do with me. He didn't need to worry about it. While thinking that, the carriage shook slightly. As expected, the train honked its horn to signal its imminent departure. In a minute, the train will pass through the vast northern mountains. As Gerald was having futile thoughts, room 403's door creaked open as if it had been waiting. The person who came was a well-dressed man in his mid-20s. He was tall and wore a brown frock coat similar to the one Gerald wore. There was no way the train staff would wear such clothes, so it was obvious that he was a passenger in the same room as her. As he sighed inwardly, the other person looked over and greeted him. The other party greeted first, so he nodded his head slightly and accepted it. The young man introduced his name as Ludger Cherish. Gerald didn't want to talk for a long time, so Gerald answered as if Gerald had a quiet personality. The man didn't really care about Gerald's behavior, and sat in the chair across from Gerald. The train departs with a loud horn. At first, the locomotive vibrated and swayed, but as speed started to increase, the vibrations disappeared. It's not without reason that the ticket prices are expensive. Ordinary people can't even afford to pay such a high price. Its speed and comfort are different from the common steam locomotive. The scenery outside the transparent window passed quickly, and the appearance of a pure white snowy mountain that covered everything was so beautiful that it automatically took the eyes off of it. But after 10 minutes or 20 minutes, if you keep watching it, you'll get bored because of the monotony. The man took out the newspaper that was placed next to the pamphlet and unfolded it. Since there are no laptops or smartphones in this world, there is nothing but books and newspapers to kill time. End of the Civil War in the Kingdom of Utah. Ends with the victory of the Princess faction. On the front pages of newspapers, such articles are published in the wide open. Not long ago, Civil War broke out, and the Kingdom of Utah recruited mercenaries from all over the world. It was also the country where this magic train station departed a while ago. Black and white photos embedded between articles printed in black letter font. It was a picture of a group of princesses announcing their victory in the war. The Civil War in the Kingdom of Utah has ended. A voice came through the newspaper. I lowered the newspaper covering my face and faced the man across from him. The man spoke to him directly. Since they couldn't ignore it, they started talking. They get acquainted. In the middle of the conversation, Gerald was really amazed. That man turned out to be the teacher of the Empire's greatest magic academy. It was the place where all the talents existing on the continent gathered, and was the lair of the future where the gemstones that would lead this world were carved into gems. Naturally, the students gathered there consisted only of the most talented children, and the teachers who taught them were strictly selected. The man in front of Gerald is also said to be one of them. Then their conversation continued. They talked about the Civil War in the Kingdom of Utah. There is a rumor going around. It is said that there was a protagonist who made this civil war lead to the victory of the Princess faction, but surprisingly it was said that he was a wandering mercenary, not a high-ranking magician or a high-ranking knight, a wandering mercenary who made a significant contribution to ending a country's civil war. It hadn't been exposed in the newspapers, but word of mouth was spreading among the people. His name is Machiavelli's mercenary. The mercenary name Machiavelli is familiar to Gerald because it is the identity he used before becoming Gerard. Suddenly, there is an explosion, and he realizes that the train is attacked by some bandits, and there are magicians among them, as they manage to attack the magic-engineered train. The bandit enters their car by breaking the window and tries to attack, but he temporarily incapacitates him using magic. Ludger tries to question the bandit, but he blows himself up with a bomb after the smoke clears. His mask, which he had spent so much effort and time on, broke down just like that, and he took it off. He was involved in many incidents which caused him to assume a new identity quite often, and Machiavelli was one of his many aliases. And he took that opportunity to take on a new alias to head for the imperial capital, in a train car that was attacked by bandits. Suddenly the train captain arrives there, asking Machiavelli if he is okay, and tells him they are evacuating passengers to Caboose. Machiavelli started to strangle him because he knew that the bandits were coming from inside the train, which Machiavelli was about to ask the captain, but suddenly shots were fired at them, and Machiavelli lay down, protecting himself, but the captain was killed. The bandits try to shoot Machiavelli, but doing so causes their guns to malfunction. By using a magic spell while the wizard of the bandits casts a counterspell and tells Machiavelli to surrender, but he jumps from the carriage. The mage knows that Machiavelli is on the roof of the train, so he orders his men to kill him. They start shooting towards the roof to kill Machiavelli, but he dashes towards Caboose and separates the carriages to escape the bandits. The mage says he has memorized Machiavelli's face, so he will find and kill him. Suddenly the mage felt a strong wave and turned around to see Machiavelli standing there. Machiavelli hits them with one strike and the mage is badly injured. First, Machiavelli planned to disappear silently, but it was only if the mage didn't see his face, and knowing that the servant would chase him, even if he ran away, he decided to kill him. The mage is surprisingly split in two by Veronica's attack on the Knight of Cold Steel. The Knight of Cold Steel kills all the bandits, and Cabin 1-2 as a report to Deputy Captain Veronica that they secured the entire train. Veronica tells them to escort the passengers safely to the next stop. At the book station reader, Veronica introduces herself to Machiavelli, and while they talk, the lemless clerk from the reader box, Metropolitan Police agent, arrives there. He informs Veronica that someone in the train may have been an accomplice in this terrorist attack, so he needs to identify the passengers to send them all the way. Machiavelli thought he was in trouble because he wasn't Gerald now, and he didn't look like a man in his 40s at all. 20s, and a man named Gerald in his 40s in cabin 403 who lacks thought. Machiavelli looked at the ledger and asked him about the other guests. He informed him that the attack swept through Gerald, and he fell towards Arrett Mountain Cliff. Veronica tells Lemlis that the ledger fought terrorists before they saved the train, and they are both shocked to learn that he is the new professor at Sören. Machiavelli thanks them for arriving comfortably at the station, and as Ledger leaves there, an employee named Wolford from Sören Academy stops him as he is there to take him to the academy. Machiavelli felt that Wolford looked like a knight, and if he tried to run away now, he might chase after him. From there they reach Sören Academy, where Wolford takes him to the president's office, and President Alyssa Willow tells Ludger she is waiting for him. Alyssa asks Ludger how he feels, because he heard about the incident, and Ludger tells him he is fine. Alyssa shows Ludger their contract and tells him their term will be 2 years. He was pleasantly surprised to read that his monthly salary was 30 imperial gold coins, which was about 300 million won in Korean currency. Ledger understands their expectations of a professor as high as salary, and wonders if he can handle himself among all the geniuses in the Sirens. Lodger has life experience, and he doesn't lack theoretical knowledge either, so he thinks he can impersonate a professor and sign the contract thinking that he will be free if he survives for 2 years. 3 weeks before the semester starts, so he has enough time to prepare his character as a professor. He had suitable conditions to hide Machiavelli's identity because his identity came from the small empire quota of his parents died, and the letters he exchanged with his acquaintances were all formal. 2 weeks later, Ludger was sitting in the cafeteria done with all the preparations for his class. Suddenly a girl arrived there and sat at the table behind him. She told Ludger they were worried about him because it had been 2 weeks since he came and had not contacted them. Machiavelli realized they were here for the tenants and started to play his part. He asks if he took care of what he was supposed to do, and he says that he killed all the targets in the academy and killed the traitors in their organization. Ludger felt she was afraid of him because he called her a ledger. The First Order asked how many people they had assembled, and he said 31 orders. The Third and 7 Second Orders had successfully infiltrated, and another First Order had arrived as planned, and settled in the leaves of the inn. There says he will decide when they will meet next, however he does not understand what is happening, and thinks it's ridiculous. After returning home, Machiavelli was furious, because he should have suspected Ludger's conditions looked ideal since they were set up to attack the academy. The letters that Machiavelli finds in the tenant's briefcase contain encrypted messages. Machiavelli knows he must give orders just as Ludger. Machiavelli understands that secret societies are arranged in order of 0 to 3rd, but he has no clue on the 0 sequence. What matters to him is figuring out the other First Orders, as they will know he is a fake if they become acquainted with Ludger. Machiavelli, planning to finish him off. They used the Sörens because they could never match Sören's power if they moved. And to do so, she would have to leak information on both sides without being found out. The following week, class begins, and the sophomores discuss that the materialization and elemental manipulation course has a new professor. The previous professor quit because he was beaten by a Flora student in front of other students. Meanwhile, Ludger enters the class with an intimidating personality and announces that he will teach beyond theory and focus on first-year practical applications. He was also able to enroll in his class because as an educator he believed everyone should be taught equally regardless of their grades. Lastly, he warned students that they would not get anywhere easy in his class, and asked if anyone had any questions. The tenants meet Brino, who teaches golems, and Merida, who teaches enchantment and visions. While heading to the inn, the cafeteria sees Professor Chris there, and Merida tells him that Chris is from a noble family. While they are commoners, they are all new professors, and Ludger senses the possibility that there is another First Order among them. Chris looked down on them and left from there. He said that he didn't want to mix with common people, and after he left, the others went to lunch. On the other hand, the girl Ludger meets in the cafeteria tries to get as many students as she can. To sign up for Ludger's class by posting about his accomplishments the next day, it was the first day of class, and Ludger was shocked to see that all 80 seats were filled with students. Ludger introduced himself again and said that he would teach the whole process of materialization. A student asks if he means the 4 specialties by the whole process, but Ludger warns them they can only ask questions when he allows it and lets go. Because this was the first time Walter said that he would teach the 4 specialties, including materialization, elemental manipulation, telekinesis, and fortification that make up magic. Ludger showed them the 3rd circled fire elemental magic fire circle, and told them he would teach them to embody the formula 3 times faster than traditional methods, which Flora said was only possible if she changed the basic structure of the formula, or if she used magic scrolls or memory echoes. But both have drawbacks. Ludger clarified that he was not going to tamper with the formula, and Flora suddenly raised the question that it was only possible to increase the manifest time. Ludger tells Flora he doesn't remember opening the floor for comment, but asks why he thinks it's impossible. Flora said that the only way to reduce the formula's manifestation was through repeated proficiency, which no one had ever managed to do before. The tenant said there was room for improvement and progress in magic, and he would be the first to do so. He asked Flora about the average time needed to make a flame. Flora says 5 seconds at most, but she can do it faster. Ludger asks her to come down and demonstrate her skills for class. Flora agrees and creates rolling fire in 4.78 seconds, but Ludger says that she is too slow because the record for fastest 3rd circled mage is 4.41 seconds, which is also slow. According to him, Ludger instantly creates rolling fire, and everyone is shocked that it only takes 0.24 seconds to do it. Ludger explained that he wasn't using the rolling flame technique, but he was using a certain technique. For those techniques and enter values to get immediate results like blueprints. He explained that this technique uses the biological hardware of the mage to consume data otherwise known as mana. The technique is the program that executes and manifests the software they understand to be Magic House, calling this source code. And in this way he answers Flora's question. He gives Flora 10 penalty points for disrupting class rudely. But he also gave her 10 points because her technique is perfect, and she doesn't hate skilled students. Ludger said the source code would be taught to students he would choose himself based on how well they did in class. After bell rings, Ludger went to tell them to review what they learned today. After class ended, Jevon's eldest son Baron Pelliet looked down on Aiden for being a commoner, and when he insulted him, Leo stopped Jevon by taunting that his family lived on the outskirts of the Empire. He even wanted to attack him, but Leo warned him to go ahead and see what happens if he attacks in front of many people. Because Sören would not let this slide even if she was a noble. She even went from there. He said that he would see them later. Hayden thanks Leo, and meanwhile Leo leaves Aiden. He decided to go with Leo to the next alchemy class. Leo warns Aiden not to prove he is a commoner, and tells him that he needs to know how second years are because some are strong. Leo tells Aiden to be careful with Flora Lumos because he has a bad personality. And Arender von Auxilian, the 3rd princess and direct descendant of the royal Auxilian imperial bloodline. Leo also warns her about Freud and Wohlberg, who run the most powerful clique in Sören. And Jevon is also part of clique Ludger, who thinks that this world framework is based around 19th century, which cannot be compared with 21st century scientific advances. That's why he combined source code with magic, and he had no idea that students would react so positively. Machiavelli can use magic faster and more accurately, but the Ludger's character is a 3rd circle mage, so he can't keep replying to source code, and he had to be even more careful that no one would suspect anything. The tenant enters his private office and is surprised to see the president waiting there. He tells Ludger he agrees with his teaching method without dividing the class into grades. But some newcomers use magic irregularly. There was a princess in his class, so he had to be careful not to get into trouble. After Alyssa left Ludger's office, Wolford asked if they could trust Professor Ludger. Alyssa has been keeping tabs on everyone she finds suspicious, but has yet to dig into anything significant. However, Alyssa told Wolford that she used her magic eyes to bewitch twice on Ludger, but he was not affected by it, and Alyssa knew she would not be able to withstand him as a 4th circle mage, but he refused. The power of the eye uses sheer will. Alyssa knows about the terrorist attack on the train and the secret group hiding in the Sören, so he decided to stay vigilant and not let anything go unnoticed. He wondered if the train incident was being covered up. For the chance to exchange one person for another, they decided to keep an eye on Ludger. While Ludger went through the list of students, and Aiden seemed to get along with him. Ludger knows that the president doesn't believe him and wonders if it would be better for him to join hands with the secret society. He remembered that the girl from the secret society called him in the first order and thought that she knew what the Ludger looked like, and she naturally accepted that the Ledger had changed her appearance. He would if he was caught. Suddenly, a Sören staff member gives Ludger a patrol ticket and tells him it is his job today, while Dwayna fights with Lynn and tells her to leave the training room because she is a commoner. But Lynn ignored Dwynma. She gets angry and attacks him with magic, but suddenly the tenant destroys her attack and saves Lynn. Ludger says he can't let it be because it's a one-sided attack, and tells Dwynma to come with him, but he replies that he's just a fallen lord, to which Ludger turned with a scary look and asked him what he had just said. Dwynma got scared, and Ludger started walking towards her while Professor Selena ran towards Ludger because she thought he was going to attack Dwynma. But Ludger put his hand on Dwayne's shoulder. He told him he was right about him. But it was Sören, he was a professor, and understanding that it was difficult for Dwynma to adapt to the new environment, he let his mistakes slide with a warning. But he will receive disciplinary action for his behavior towards his classmates. After the tenant tells Selena to take care of their things and leaves, the tenant goes out because she isn't feeling well, and she takes out the last bottle of her medicine, which will only last 5 days. The next day at lunch, Selena tells Ludger that students went to read books at night, earlier, and they saw werewolves roaming the rooftops. But Ludger thinks it is a werewolf. Merida tells Ludger she heard about the source code method and everyone is intrigued by the type of magic. Selena said that she could get the patent of the magic tower for this technique. But Ludger said that he did not know what he would do if he goes to the magic tower and approaches it first. But the problem is another professor started shooting fire at him with their eyes. At night, Ludger roams the streets. He is waiting for someone, and suddenly a werewolf tries to attack him. But Ludger dodges it and asks if he kept him waiting to play a trick on him. Hans the werewolf called Machiavelli his brother and told him to act a little surprised. When they met after a long time, Ludger started laughing. After seeing his form change into half animal, half human, whenever he is bitten by a tenant, he administers the antidote and he turns back into a human. This reminded him of the first time he met him in the cryptid expedition. Ludger tells Hans the reason for keeping this Ludger's identity and asks if he knows anything about orders. Hans said that he had heard that there were new players in the shadows recently who called each other members of the Black Dawn organization. Hans gives his back to Ludger, which he asks for because in the letter, Ludger takes his medicine and asks why he made him wait for 2 days. While he was at Rederbo, he was surprised to hear that there had been rumors of werewolves for 2 days since they had just arrived there. And suddenly they both heard the voice of a werewolf and saw a real werewolf sitting on the roof. They hide so as not to be noticed by humans. The wolf and Ludger noticed the chain around the werewolf's neck. Ludger pulled out his gun and told Hans he needed to check something because someone might have done it on purpose. He gave up the werewolf. The weapon was from the days when he used to be a cryptid hunter and used the alias Abraham Van Helsing. The werewolf notices Ludger and jumps down, but Ludger is sure that he has it around his neck and decides to inquire about him after catching him. The werewolf tries to attack Ludger, but he uses ultrasonic waves which cause the werewolf a severe headache. He was about to inject the werewolf to find his identity, but suddenly he heard someone coming there. The werewolf immediately climbed onto the roof to escape from there, but Ludger also begins to follow suit. Police arrived in the area to arrest anyone who looks suspicious. Meanwhile, when the werewolf tries to escape from Ludger, the werewolf reaches the train station, but Ludger also arrived behind him. Ludger attacks the werewolf with his sword, but he survives the attack, so Ludger uses magic on him and beheads him with his words, but Hans barely escapes capture and reaches the train station. Hans is frightened to see a werewolf head lying on the floor, and suddenly a Ludger appears in front of him to scare him, because Hans also tried to scare him. Before Ludger informs Hans that the werewolves are artificial test subjects created by someone, and they must proceed with their plan ahead of schedule, because he has to stay in this town for a while and it's a better choice. Instead of the capital fans worrying because Sören, the secret society, scientists are doing ridiculous experiments, and the gangs of this city still think Ludger is a good fit, as there would be too many mishaps to draw attention to. It was Ludger who told Hans to start gathering the necessary information and keeping it updated because he needed to increase his strength. After a few days, Tennant read in newspaper that last week, 5 more people were killed by werewolves, and he is shocked because he killed werewolves in Tempst, and realizing there is more than one werewolves, suddenly he gets a call for professor meeting. And upon reaching there, Selena told him that yesterday, 2 first-year students were attacked by animals when they went outside. Meanwhile, Professor Marie Ross, who has taught pharmacology in Sören for over 20 years, tells everyone to be quiet because the president is coming. Melissa arrives there and announces that there is a mysterious assailant in Sören they haven't identified. According to witnesses, this was a werewolf or cryptid. Professor Hugo Bertigo said that the Auxilian Empire protected Sören. In such a place, only ghost stories by students, but Alyssa reminds him there were 2 victims. Hugo says he knows the victims are of noble descent, so he thinks the culprits are common students rather than werewolves. According to Hugo, someone disguised himself as a werewolf to attack noble students. Meanwhile, Ludger notices a bug on his shoulder, and when he holds it, he sees that it is a cryptic message, saying that 3 test subjects have escaped. He must capture them alive or eliminate them immediately, if necessary, because if they are caught, their identity will be revealed. Ludger never expected Black Dawn to be involved in this, but now they get hit, and this could reveal Ludger's identity, so he has to get rid of the test subject. Before Sören, Alyssa orders Hugo to strengthen patrol, warning students not to roam at night and giving penalty points if necessary. After the meeting, the tenant meets Sedina Raffian, who is disguised as a student in the academy, and asks her real name, because he thought he was using his last name to pass himself off as royalty. But he was surprised to learn that it was his real name. Sedina follows the ledger to tell him something, so Ludger casts a sound-blocking spell, and he says that the werewolf incident that happened in one of their organizations was the thing of a cryptid experiment being conducted by the Dark Wizards, and at school there is a group of scientists kicked out by the Association for Unethical Experiments. It is said that one of the test subjects escaped and entered the Sören through the sewers and attacked the students. He tells Ludger that he was involved in the incident because First Order Victor Dreadful had borrowed his name and lent it to him. Ludger remembers the name from the markings around the werewolf's neck, and tells Sedina that he killed one of the subjects 2 days ago in Reader Balk, and now he has to take care of the remaining 2 subjects. Ludger felt that Sedina was more competent to be third, but he was an outcast in the organization for being a royal, and they were going to get rid of him. His tenants inform Sedina that they will be extending the search to the sewers, because the subject is hiding there. Ludger removed the magic spell and left from there. But Flora noticed all this and wondered what they were talking about. Why did the 2 of them need a magical sound barrier? During class, Flora is still thinking about what Ludger talked to Sedina, and when class ends, the professor warns students to stay out late to avoid penalty points. The students seem to be discussing about the rumors circulating in the city. In that city, there is a competition with prizes for anyone who can catch a werewolf. While Aiden and Leo thought it was better to leave it to the professor since the victims were involved, suddenly Tessie came in angrily and slammed the table. He challenged Aiden to have a magic match with him, but he refused. Tessie then suggests they should do something else than fight her, and the person who caught the werewolves in order to win. Leo agreed with her, but Aiden didn't take Tessie seriously. Then Tessie left the class. Aiden and Leo saw her walking out of the classroom through the window. They both saw that Tessie was heading towards the dorms, and realized they were in trouble. While on patrol, Ludger caught nearly 20 students outside and gave them 5 penalty points each. He visits a sewage treatment plant near Sören. Ludger finds 2 werewolves, a large and a small one, going in the same direction and begins to follow them. The giant footprints headed towards the school, and he suddenly heard screams. Ludger started running in that direction. Ludger sees that the werewolves are going to attack Lynn and Princess Irondeer, so he attacks the werewolves, and after that gave them both 5 penalty points. Irondeer's daughter tells Ludger she only came there to send the wandering students back to campus, and Lynn apologizes to Ludger. Ludger told them to go back so he wouldn't punish any of them, and when they came back, the werewolves got up and ran towards the roof of the school. She starts to follow him, and they are surprised to see her using floating magic to reach the roof. He starts fighting werewolves, and Lynn is impressed by the magic the professor uses to fight werewolves. Ludger decided to settle this. This werewolf realized that he shouldn't use this much magic, but he had no other choice since he was fighting in front of students. The werewolves attack him with magic and weapons, which makes Ludger very surprised because werewolves are smart enough to use tools to attack. The werewolves run away while Ludger begins to wonder if it is a werewolf. Meanwhile, Aiden and Leo look for Tessie, and after hearing a sound, they run towards her. But while running, Aiden bumps into Tessie. Tessie asks them what they are doing here, and they say they heard her voice, but she says that she didn't scream and tells them to follow her quietly. He shows them a baby werewolf and is about to catch him to win the bet. But Aiden stops him, saying it seems painful to see a werewolf covered in leaves. Tessie thought someone might have helped her, and suddenly a giant werewolf appeared behind them. The werewolf attacks Leo and is about to attack Tessie, but Aiden saves him. And Tessie was taken aback by her gesture. Aiden told everyone that werewolves were behaving like this, and she started telling the werewolves that they weren't going to do anything. Tessie and Leo were surprised to find that the werewolves understood them. Aiden then offered the werewolf medicine. He is about to take it, but suddenly the werewolves are attacked by Ludger. Ludger uses magic to bind the werewolves the students are shocked to see. Dan Ludger said he would deal with them later, and told them to get behind him. Aiden stops Ludger from killing the werewolves because he understands them. She was about to say something still after looking up at him. Then the wolf cub pushed Aiden and burned them. Aiden is shocked by her behavior, and Ludger tells them to go back to their dormitory and they will be held accountable for their disobedience tomorrow. The next day, the students are waiting for Ludger when he arrives with Alyssa, and they're shocked to see the president scolding them for the incident during the night, but Alyssa tells him not to scare them and appreciate Aiden for saving Tessie. Melissa thought their behavior was dangerous, so she gave them 10 penalty points, but said she couldn't criticize about what they did in crisis, and gave them 20 points each. The students are shocked after the students leave Alyssa. She asks Ludger if he is satisfied that he went easy on the kids because of his request. Alyssa asks Ludger if there is anything strange about the werewolves, but Ludger says there is nothing. So Alyssa thanked him for saving the students, and left Ludger. He remembered that yesterday he saw the body of a werewolf child that looked like a human. That hasn't completely changed. He understood and assumed that someone was experimenting on humans to make them into werewolves. Ludger has no regrets about killing the werewolves because if he didn't, he would be putting himself in danger. Dan justifies it by thinking that excuses if anyone gets hurt is enough to kill them. Shown the students sitting on a park bench, Tessie asks Aiden if he's worried about something, and he says yesterday he noticed a strange restraint around the neck of a werewolf child. According to Aiden, Ludger stopped them because he must have thought it was someone who could control werewolves. Leo said that he heard rumors about some suspicious characters in Sören. Aiden says the professor was acting strange last night, and he's sure he saw something yesterday as well and was trying to hide it, so he might have something to do with the rumors circulating. Tessie tells them not to suspect Ludger because he saved them, so they agree with him. On the other hand, Ludger checks the list of missing persons. According to info from bell readers, he told Ludger about a factory where people congregate. Someone reported to him several workers, including a family of 3, missing outside the city. Ludger tells Hans to reach the factory and he will be there soon. After a while, 2 men are standing outside the factory talking about the werewolf family running away. And suddenly Ludger appears there and shoots them dead. Ludger decides to go inside alone, and as he goes, asks about the age of the child being tested on Hans. Hans says the kid is only 7 years old, and Ludger goes into the sewers, killing everyone who comes happily using magic bullets to kill the workers inside the factory. One of the workers attacks Ludger using high-strength electricity. Ludger uses alchemy with metallic elemental magic, and it backfires. He understood that they were the Vermin brothers. From behind the world, Ludger understood that they were communicating with the bugs to know that he had arrived, so he first killed the bugs and cut off their communication. While one of the Vermin brothers, Bruno, loses connection with the bugs, and understands that the intruders are using metal and wind elemental magic. He tells Varen to get ready and gather people to attack Ludger, but suddenly the lights go out. Bruno calls for Varen and is shocked to see Varen's head already severed, so he decides to make a move before he gets him killed. But Ludger attacks Bruno with a firebolt and shoots him dead. Everyone was shocked, but suddenly Ludger was attacked by the insect's leg, but he dodged it. Ludger sees Varen turning into a bug man, even after cutting off his head, and Baron says he will get revenge for killing his brother. Veyron started to attack, and Ludger tried to counter but failed, so he used magic to attack him, but Varen dodged the attack with his body. He says that Ludger has to use 4th circle magic if he wants to kill him, and smashes him against the wall. But suddenly Ludger disappeared from there and attacked Veyron. From above, Ludger knew Varen wouldn't give him time to use 4th circle magic, so he attacked him with another technique. Outside, Hans is waiting for Ludger, and suddenly he sees an explosion that blows up the entire factory. He realized Ludger was using his magic, which he called real magic. After a few minutes, Ludger survived and left. He told the Hans he would take care of all of them, including the test subjects, as there was no way to turn them back into humans. Hans holds the drug that turns humans into werewolves and says that someone behind the curtain must have invested a lot of money to carry out this experiment on a large scale. Ludger tells him not to worry, as he already knows who is behind this, and Hans returns to his hiding place. On the other hand, Belobot Rixen was angry at his maid and left the food table while returning to his room. He thought that he would soon get results from the experiments he invested in becoming younger and stronger. When he entered the room, Ludger attacked him and asked him if he had no conscience to use a 7-year-old child as a test subject because he remembered the child smiling at him. Luckily, before he kills her, Belobot understands that Ludger is taking care of the test subjects and tells him not to worry as they make sacrifices to contribute to the development of humanity. Ludger, who didn't expect this kind of answer from Belobot, and injects her with the drug he used on research subjects. Ludger looks at lab records and finds that even the smallest amount of the drug is enough to turn anyone into a werewolf, so he injects the full vial of it into the Belobot to make him feel the pain he is feeling and leave. Belobot turned into a wolf monster, and the guard ran towards his room. After hearing voices, the guard attacked Belobot. They used magic thinking it was a monster and sent someone else to find Belobot, otherwise Ludger had left from there. The hideout gives him a locker full of money and tells him to take what he needs for their job and hide the rest. Ludger said that he would be back soon under a suitable ID. The next day, reporters gathered outside Belobot's house. They were gossiping that the monster ate Belobot, and the guards killed the monster by burning it for an hour. Suddenly, Night Commander Tyranno Helllion from the Nightcrawler Security Bureau arrives and orders the police officers to open the door of the Belobot residence. After coming aside, he tells the inspector that the Security Bureau will handle this case from now on, and asks Tabarin to hand over all the evidence and leave it for them. Tarina starts investigating the place along with Anya and Lloyd. He knows that Belobot did the cryptid, and he's not someone a monster could just kill. But Lloyd says that there are witnesses and evidence that exists. He said the monster's body could not be identified because it had been burned for a long time. Tarina sees a slanted portrait on a clean wall, so she removes it and looks at the secret safe room. He notices that the safe was there until last night due to a lack of dust, and suspects someone intervened in Belobot's death, but that person left no traces behind. Tarina knows that only Arsène Lupin is skilled enough to do something like this, and asks the layout about the unusual happenings in Redderbilk. Lately, Lloyd has been telling him that the abandoned factory burned down near the time of Belobot's death. Tarina is sure they will find something there and tells them to go there. Ludger's energy was consumed using magic, and he was still feeling the effects after the recent events, but he used the pill concoction he made before and felt better. Ludger thought he didn't have to worry about the werewolf situation anymore, as he burned all the evidence, but the only thing he was worried about now was Aiden. He wasn't sure if Aiden saw him. An unnatural display of killing a werewolf, and no guarantee that Aiden won't go around telling everyone, so he comes up with the idea to get rid of Aiden, but he can't risk killing students in Sören because the president is watching Aiden closely because of his unusual magic. He remembered that Aiden said he learned irregular magic from a wizard when he was young and thought it was a strange coincidence. Meanwhile, Tarina, Iowa, and Lloyd go to the factory, but all of them burn down. Tarina has a lot of unanswered questions about the incident, so she asks Lloyd about any other suspicious activity in town, and Lloyd tells her about the werewolf incident in town in Sören. Lloyd says that the werewolf injured 3 students before a professor killed him, and there were no bodies because they were burned. Tarina thinks the 2 cases might be connected due to the similarity of arson and decides to keep this possibility in mind to eliminate the threat to the Empire. Meanwhile, before class started, Irendir offered Lynn to sit with him. Professor Ludger entered the classroom and immediately handed out notes to teach students a new method to increase their elemental strength by 20 to 80%. The magic ledger formed snowflakes with magic, which attracted the students' interest, but Flora was not impressed. Then he gave the students a question about the elemental property magic that had grown so much. He had the students explain the progress of elemental magic and placed 5 points as a prize for whoever gave the correct answer. Ludger told them to use the fire element as an example, but everyone gave wrong answers. Instead of Flora, he said that it was used to burn people, and he went on to explain that depending on human behavior, the meaning behind the elemental trait changes. Ludger teaches them to keep the mindset of working harder for a better world, and tells them to create their elemental spheres. Everyone started creating their elemental spheres, but Aiden was inexperienced in them. Ludger told him to start with basic fire properties and build up his magic for basic magic. To turn magic into fire, Aiden managed to create a fireball. Ludger appreciated that he used the warmth within himself to create it, and it was his own earned magic. Everyone was surprised that Ludger complimented Aiden. Ludger tells the students to apply their senses from past experience to conjure the elements, because real mages need to add something special. Meanwhile, in Flora's class, Loomis decides to create an elaborate magic so that all the elements appear to overlap. He wondered whether Professor Ludger appreciated his efforts or not. Flora struggled to control it and decided to create a barrier to protect everyone from the explosion. But Ludger tells him to focus and control his magic. Suddenly it starts to stabilize, and Ludger tells him to stay focused, otherwise his magic will spread. Gaining nothing, and she started to focus on finishing it till the end. Flora realized that people always looked at her with envy or jealousy. But that never bothered her, yet she couldn't stand being looked down upon by her father as if she was a child who didn't exist. The humiliation he faced on the first day of the bigger reminds him of his childhood, that he tried so hard to forget Flora, who managed to control magic. And when he did control her, Ludger yelled at her that it didn't matter if she tried trying new magic and don't be afraid to fail, because of who it could fail, but endangering the lives of others is a different matter. Flora apologized, and Ludger showed her an accurate way to overlap the fire and ice elements to make it snow in the classroom. Flora felt completely defeated, but Ludger appreciated that her abilities were interesting, but the only problem was that she used her magic to show them off. Ludger tells him he has no authority in how he uses his magic, but advises him to find another way to use it instead of showing it. It was for her own worth. Flora was surprised that he wasn't mocking her. Instead, she was actually worried for him. The professor is impressed that he can handle overlapping elements at such a young age. He saw that Lynn was struggling in her unrealized elemental properties, so he told her to come to his office after college. After Lynn went there, she was worried that the professor would tell her to change this course, but he gave her a book on understanding non-elemental magic to study. Ludger says that he got this book from a girl, and Lynn doesn't know that other people also have non-elemental magic like him. He asks Ludger what the girl is doing now, and he replies she is no longer of this world. Lynn wants to control at least one element, because she feels that someone who can only control one element is because she is weak. But Ludger disagreed with him, because a person who can only control one element is a person with unlimited talent. In that element, their magic can interfere with natural phenomena. Ludger told him not to worry and to read the book for now, as it was a private task only for him. After she leaves him, he is surprised that she can perform non-elemental magic, and has the magic eye of judgment, which can judge between good and evil, but is yet to awaken. And Ludger doesn't think he is aware of it himself. On the other hand, Aiden practices what Ludger tells him, and thinks he might be wrong in doubting him. Suddenly, Jevin comes there and tries to fight with Leo, and insults Tessie for coming from a broken family. But Aiden stops him, as he can't stand someone insulting his friends, and challenges him to a magic duel. And in return, Jevin has to apologize to Leo and Tessie if Aiden wins. Jevin agrees, but suddenly Professor Ludger arrives there and tells them to go back to their dormitory, while Professor Chris arrives and tells Ludger that he cannot stop students wanting to duel by abusing his authority, and asks him to watch duel. Conversely, Ludger knows he is right, so he tells Chris to do as he says, but Chris challenges him to bet who will win, and Churs accepts the challenge and bets on Aiden. Because they both teach magic. Chris made a bet to exchange data about the magic they had researched. He also agreed to duel in 3 days, and Chris left from there. Aiden tells Ludger he wants to win his own skills and asks Ludger to teach him. Ludger agrees to teach Aiden, but says it will be difficult for him, and there is no guarantee that he will win. Aiden still wants to do it, so Ludger says they will start training soon. After training, Aiden returns to his dorm exhausted, and he doesn't understand why Ludger believes he will win, and wonders if he knows anything about his unusual magic. Chris knows that Professor Ludger is desperate to win, so he meets Jiva and then tells him not only to beat Aiden, but to show that there is a huge gap between commoners and royalty. He gives Jevin a potion to strengthen his magic before the battle, but Jevin is worried about getting caught. Chris said it was a unique product from the Benamor family, and he wouldn't get caught, so Jevin kept it. Everyone is gathered at the training ground on the day of the battle, and the students are not sure who will win. Suddenly, Alyssa also arrives there, and says that she can't wait to see who wins, but the safety of the students is also important, so the magic barrier protects them. The competitors arrive, and the referee checks their condition and asks Aiden about the sword in his belt. The referee checked to see if it was wooden and blunt, so he allowed Aiden to use it. Referee announces that whoever drains his opponent's protective magic will win and starts the battle. At first they both attack at the same speed, but Jevin increases the power of his fiery flare, but Aiden dodges it. Aiden felt he would lose like this, so he used what Ludger taught him, and started running towards Jevin. Chris was surprised to see that Aiden would use the pillar technique used by battle magicians. He was furious that Ludger taught him this technique in just 3 days, and common people learned it too. While Jevin tries to complete his spell, Aiden breaks it and attacks his head. The referee announces Aiden's winner, and everyone including Leo and Tessie starts cheering for him. However, the noble students are not happy with the situation. And Jevin can't accept his defeat while the referee removes Aiden's protective barrier. Jevin attacks Aiden, but the referee steps up to protect Aiden. Aiden remembers a trick the lodger told him to only use when necessary, and immediately attacks Jevin's magic attacks. Everyone is shocked to see this, and Chris can't believe that Aiden now has an anti-magic technique that removes magic. Aiden slapped Jevin for what he just did in his sophomore year. Noble student Freuden decides to keep an eye on Aiden because he is better than nobles. There, Chris asks Ludger if he knows that Aiden can use anti-magic, so Ludger agrees and asks if there's a problem. Ludger reminds him of their bet, but also refuses to take his job as it is not dignified to steal someone else's work over the bet, and leaves after a while. Ludger meets Sedina and tells her that it's easy to suspect her when she meets students who have no business pointing at her. But he says that a professor can get close to an excellent student, so he tells her to be a model student. Sedina considered it a mission straight from the First Order, and said he would do so with the recent dueling event. Ludger makes a favorable impression on the president's faction, and shows the Black Dawn that they couldn't make any sudden moves, but he couldn't last long like this, and needed to make his organization. Ludger gets a call from Hans saying he knows what they need to do to settle down. Hans asks Ludger to come somewhere, and now he needs Ludger's power, so Ludger says that he will be there. After a while, the Crimson Society's leader's daughter is sitting in the bar angry about Belobot's death, as she was an investor in the factory. Suddenly, Ludger enters the bar and Crimson tells him it's closed, but he introduces himself as James Moriarty. Crimson remembered that he was the criminal consultant who once dominated the backworld of the Delica Empire, and wondered what he was doing here. Crimson ordered his men to shoot him in the shoulder, but Ludger used flame suppression magic, and their guns stopped working. Ludger blows the whistle, the werewolf enters the bar, and everyone is surprised to see Ludger controlling the werewolf before coming there. Hans tells Ludger that their back alley is affected by 4 criminal organizations, including the Crimson Society, so they decided to take care of that first. Hans tells Ludger that the Crimson Society has taken care of Belobot's work, and after his death they divided into groups so it would be easy to exterminate them. Now he can't intimidate them alone, so he asks for her help to turn into a werewolf. Meanwhile, for him, Daughtry was being bullied, and Moriarty said he was going to start a business in this town, and he didn't like dirty work, so the Crimson Society would disappear from there. But Daughtry was angry, and they took out the dagger. Ludger tells Hans to run away from there, and immediately turns off the lights and takes out his sword. Ludger uses the third circle of Fool's Dream darkness magic, which makes the opponents kill each other. Out of fear in the darkness, suddenly an aurora slashes Ludger's magic, and quasi-knights attack him. Ludger uses the dagger as a trap to poison them, as Aurora cannot stop the poison when it hits them. Ludger stabs the poisoned man in the head, and the other knights realize he is not Moriarty, as they heard he is not good at fighting. He tries to attack Ludger, but Ludger kills him using his own shadow. After dealing with the other, Ludger took all the information from Daughtry, and after that Hans came there. Ludger tells the hand he will choose another small one. All tears from the Crimson Society for his own Ludger, telling Hans to review documents and secret ledgers on the second floor in the office. Ludger tells Hans he called a few people he knows for help, but Hans tells him he is uncomfortable that no one is normal because Bunch Pons asked him about the president, and the tenants said he would not do anything that could cause a reaction. They have 10 people in their organization, including them. And Ludger named their organization Owen, or Unknown, which means unknown. Hans asked if he was really going to name her like that. Ludger nodded, and they toasted the birth of their organization. The next day, Selena asks Ludger why he doesn't have an assistant, but Ludger says that he doesn't need one. However, Selena has 3 assistants while she sees Chris walking with the help of his assistants, and realizes that Selena's assistants are less than them. Ludger thought he needed an assistant too, because he has 80 students. So after going to his office, Ludger started to think about it. He decided to have someone take care of the tedious assignments and started going through the list of students to choose from. While walking through the corridors, Ludger notices Sedina following him and tells him to get out. She said what she wanted to apologize that she was passing by and happened to see her. Ludger asked her if she had classes every Tuesday and Thursday morning from 10 to 12. Sedina replied that she was usually available during that time. So Ludger asked her to be his assistant. Sedina was surprised and worried that everyone would be suspicious of them, but Ludger said that his name was on a list of recommendations he had received for help, and he had nothing to worry about. An hour later, Sedina gave Ludger her completed assistant application form before class started. Lin alerted nearby Iran about rumors that there is a very powerful stone that grants wishes in Sören. And Irandir believed that it was possible, but Flora found it childish. He heard that Ludger hired an assistant, so he thought about signing up. An assistant had to be as skilled as he was, and he considered himself well suited for the position. Then he asked suddenly. Sedina came into the classroom with teaching materials and told everyone to be quiet because the teacher had arrived. Flora was surprised to see that he had already chosen a temporary assistant as Ludger entered the classroom. He thanked Sedina and told her to leave. After the lecture ended, Ludger announced the exam for tomorrow, and Julia Plumhart raised her hand to ask. Ludger knew him because he passed the entrance exam this year, and hearing that someone was supporting him, he asked how he chose an assistant. And Ludger replied that he was just looking at their characters, and they had to go through the main interview. But he didn't need her as his assistant, Ludger said. After leaving class, the Ludgers waited outside and told him to wait. Start now instead of waiting outside the classroom and giving him assignments to do. Before he left, Flora came up to him and thanked him for saving her back then. But Ludger only replied that he was just doing his job as a professor, and he was happy to do it to help him. While leaving, he told Flora he could submit the assistant's application form if he wanted, but also said he was more than worthy of being her assistant. Professor Ludger visited the president's office because he had summoned him. Melissa asked if she had heard any rumors about a mystical stone hidden in Sören. He replied that he had heard about it and thought it was an unfounded rumor, but Alyssa pointed out to him that it was true that the stone existed. Alyssa says it was a closely guarded secret, but now someone inside is leaking this information. The stone was very strong, so they had periodic management of the storage area, and the information was leaked. When the stone was moved, but strangely, the rumors were very detailed, so he asked Ludger if he could take a look. Ludger understands that she wants to dig into his past by showing him trust, and he tells her to let him know if she sees anyone suspicious. He found out in school he traveled around continents and changed many identities to find this missing piece of relic, and he didn't know he would find it in Sören. Suddenly he received a call from Hans, and he said that he has been dealing with another organization, still of some piranhas trying to fill the void of the Carmine Society, and Hans asks Ludger to come over. But Ludger said it would take a week due to the remains in Sören. Ludger thought it was a chance for him to find the missing piece of the relic he had found. The stone was very strong, and there were 4 pieces left to complete, so he needed the missing parts of this relic and put them back together again. The princess gets a call from Knight Commander Tirana, who informs her that they are investigating the werewolf incident and asks if she knows the professor who treated the werewolves. He tells her about the Ludger, and before signing, Tarina also gives him a message from First Daughter that she wants a Renier to call her, after which Tarina asks Ania about factory investigation. Enia says that they found a burnt piece of paper, and it looks like someone was doing research, and he also reported that the Crimson Society had recently disappeared overnight. Meanwhile, while taking a class, Ludger notices that students seem bored in class and shows them something interesting. Roger made a flare with his finger and said that magic came from within the person, who threw it. But suddenly he lit a flare in front of a student with a determined coordinate technique. The students were shocked, and Flora wondered where she had learned the technique from. Ludger said that he would not teach this technique because magic is developed from a solid foundation, and full creation comes after, and they have to learn the steps first, even if they think it's boring. After class, Ludger went to his office where Sedina was waiting for him. Then Ludger entrusted his duties as assistant and cheered him on. Dan told him to wait outside because the president called him. A call from the president informs him that the mystical stone has been stolen and the enemy is attacking them before they can remove it. Melissa ordered him to catch them before they used the stone until midnight. And after ending the call, Ludger thought the First Order might be behind. He called Sedina inside and asked if his underlings had done the work themselves. Sedina agreed, and Ludger told her to explain everything in detail. Sedina reports that it all started when the Third Order found documents about a very strong stone while investing in Sören's house. Confidential information, he investigated the location of the stone storage and immediately informed the Second Order dAnime about this. But dAnime did not report this to the First Order. Sedina thinks dAnime did this because he was after the First Order position, as Zero Order says that any of the 7 First Order positions can be changed. Ludger asks him about their current situation, and Sedina tells them they are on the run, with a few dozen allies, and they went into the silent forest. Ludger appreciates Sedina for the information and goes after them using Autoru Nocturne, summoning a type of magic that consumes immense power, but consumes the user's presence all at once in return. While the Ludger was passing through Flora, he smelled her spell but couldn't see her, so he decided to check her out and chased after her. Meanwhile, dAnime's allies went crazy because the silent force made people angry. Anyone trying to get past it. dAnime tries to use the Power Stone, but it doesn't work, and suddenly the Ludger appears on it. They all get scared seeing him and call his real name. John Doe Ludger, who died in a train incident, heard that John was very cruel and was here to kill him, so he immediately gave the stone to him. Ludger took the stone and killed them all. From the sky, someone grabbed the stone. President Alyssa showed up there. She took the rock and said she shot it with all her might. Melissa made these fake rocks for her little bait and hoped to find the Ludger. But he wasn't there because Ludger managed to hide before Alyssa showed up. In the forest, Flora asked him back about what he was doing there. Ludger said it was none of his business and told him to come back, because he thought he didn't see anything suspicious. Suddenly, they heard Cheryl crying because she was scared while looking for Flora. Ludger tells them to follow him to show them the way out. Flora saw Ludger taking the medicine and wondered if he was sick. Ludger brought them to Alyssa, and Flora took all the responsibility on herself. The situation was urgent, so he decided to take care of it, and replied that it was fine, and took responsibility to send the students back to their rooms. After returning to Wolford Academy, she asks Alyssa about Ludger. She says this incident cleared her doubts about Ludger, as she checked his reaction and found nothing suspicious. Melissa safely moved the rock to a safe place and left from there. After that, Ludger shows up there to pick up the actual rock and gets excited. He left a mark on the fake stone because he was sure the president would check it against the real one. He took the stone to use it to find the remaining part of the relic he was looking for. He calls Hans and says he found one missing piece of the relic, but has been working too hard and needs to recover faster. Ludger has information about 2 relics, but he knows the location for one piece, which is in Reader Belk. Hans informs that Kunst is the only auction house in the area, and they will be holding a big event soon. Ludger told him to look up the list of items up for auction and meet him tomorrow. Ludger caught Flora standing outside his office door and asked her what she was doing. Flora wanted to ask him about unusual magic, which he used before in the medicines he was taking. But she didn't force herself to ask him about anything. Ludger decided to because he didn't ask anything. But suddenly Flora stopped him and showed him the coordinate technique she was pointing at. Ludger is surprised that no other student has mastered it yet, and Flora asks for a gift, so Ludger takes it to his lab through his office. And Flora was surprised to see him. Ludger contemplates what gift to give and shows him a magic spell. Flora felt her head was going to explode with sensation and fainted. After 30 minutes, he woke up in Ludger's office and asks him about the magic he showed him before he passed out. Ludger says that it was Klein's bottle that he did for experiment purposes, and asks how his eyes and nose are since he is unique, and his body accepts magic through some of his senses. Ludger said it would be best to make sure he didn't get caught by other witches, and told him to leave at night. In the evening, Ludger goes to a meeting at a place. He walked up to the 4th floor, and Ludger understood that they were calling them to check if they obeyed the laws they made. They enter the meeting room. The meeting begins, and Ludger meets Violetta, a Finian Black Rose from Curtis and Dion and Micella from the organization. He is the eldest son of Finian. Finian asks Ludger what he wants from them. Dan Ludger said he wanted to start a business in Red Brickle and offered them to work for him. In return, he will make a lot of money. Violetta said she was no different from the Crimson Society because she wanted to force them to still work according to her. Ludger clarifies he will transfer the Crimson Society's business to them, even if they reject it. Finian asks if it's a dangerous business, but Ludger replies that he won't put either of them in harm's way, and shows them his proposal. Ludger said there was an abandoned area next to an industrial area, and he wanted to turn it into a bright place where people could enjoy it. The 3 organizations accepted his proposal, and Violetta asked herself to speak privately while leaving. She asked Ludger if he was confident of the success of this business, since currently the lords and merchants led the clothing market. He is confident of their success and tells him not to worry about his sister, as he will protect them as long as they accept his offer. Ludger admits that he is a mage, and he is surprised that he finds out that he then removes his hood. As they agree to work together, and Ludger notices a magical burn around his eye. Blazer heals his burns using magic, and Violetta is shocked to see his face. And Ludger told him it was his true magic. Violetta decides to leave, but he suddenly saves her from an arrow and realizes that they were raided by the remaining members of the Crimson Society. For a while, Ludger thought that he had not seen the person who first shot the arrows and fuses sent, and realized there was an assassin among them. Ludger took Violetta in his arms and started to run from there, as a professional killer was among them. The assassins started following them. Ludger climbs onto the roof of a building, but the assassins chase them and attack them with poisoned daggers. Violetta tries to protect herself using her umbrella, but the poison burns her, and Ludger understands that they are assassins. Ludger picked up Violetta and saw that they were able to get away, but the assassins gave chase. They took out daggers to hit the Ludger, but the Ludger suddenly attacked them using magic. As the scent of fusion diminished there, the assassin tried to attack Ludger after grabbing him with his sword. He killed him using his hidden weapon. The diffusion scent completely disappeared, and while the rest of the gang reached there, Violetta used her magic and finished it off. Ludger thinks someone is behind sending the assassins because he already killed Belobot, and she was shocked to know he killed her. Ludger says he funded Daughtry while doing dirty business and doing things that undermine human dignity, so he killed her. Ludger decides to give some of Daughtry's men to Violetta because he hates them, and in return he has to find out who is behind this. Violetta agrees to take care of it, and when she leaves, she tells him to be careful on his way back. After a while, Ludger returns to his hideout and sees one of his organization members fighting with Hans. They argue about something. They both saw Ludger coming. Ludger asked Hans to stop bullying the boy. Ludger then tells Hans that he is taking care of the Crimson Society people and tells him to see who is behind them. After a while, Ludger spots a group of people loitering outside and realizes that they are part of Tarina's group of protective guards. Ludger learns that he is assigned to the Belobot murder case, and glad he got rid of the evidence. Meanwhile, Sheridan fixes the weapon and Ludger checks it to make it twice as strong. Sheridan added a new feature that allowed shooting needles to immobilize enemies that Ludger liked. On the other hand, Tarina visits the crime scene along with Lloyd and Enya, and they see that there are 2 murderer corpses there besides the cremated people. Tarina investigates their corpses and understands that they were killed by a single stab by an assassin. Tarina analyzed the whole situation and understood what she needed and went from there. The next day, Selena visits Ludger because he didn't come to the academy today and tells him that one night the National Security Bureau was looking for him. Ludger goes to the academy, meets Lloyd in his office, and asks what brings him there. Lloyd wants to hear about the werewolf incident in detail, and Ludger begins to recount the whole incident. After a while, Lloyd tells Ludger it's an honor to meet someone who works for the country, and leaves from there, shaking hands with Ludger. A few minutes later, Lloyd meets Tarina and tells her that Ludger looks like an ordinary wizard to him who has never used a knife before. And this was beyond Tarina's expectation, because she thought she finally found the clue Tarina told her, and she should stay in the academy to report anything suspicious to her. Meanwhile, Alyssa arrives there, and Tarina is offended that Alyssa stopped her from meeting the Ludger. Alyssa didn't want her to bully Lodge, so he leaves from there. Ludger remembers that Lloyd asked for a handshake with his bare hands because he wanted to check something, so Ludger used artificial leather made by Sheridan because he was ready for it. 1 week later, Sedina informs Ludger that after Tarina's visit, people are avoiding contact and holding a private meeting outside of the arranged Siora. There were 3/3 of the orders captured by the 3 Sören students from the Ludger class, and Ludger understood that they had to be Aiden, Leo, and Tessie. Serena asks the tenant how she should look after the students, but Ludger tells her to leave the case after a while. During the first exam period, Ludger said that he would teach the source code formula to the 5 students with the highest marks and start the exam after the end of the exam. Arendir meets and asks him about the test he is about to take. Lin replied that it was more complex than he expected. Indera, however, replies that he has so many things on his mind that he cannot study properly. Meanwhile, Chris sees Ludger's test and gets angry that Alyssa personally gave him the test, so it happened. He helps her in preparing for the next exam. Frisk becomes enraged to think he's being compared to the ruined lords and decides to take revenge on the Ludger. Lin is about to leave for lunch break, but a noble student suddenly blocks her way and misbehaves with her, since she refused last time. Meanwhile, Freuden arrives there, and Lin is shocked to see him, as he is rumored to be cruel, and finds commoners disgusting. From there, Lin thanked Freuden for helping her, and Freuden offered to share lunch with her and take her to his private room. Ludger that he is having a practice exam and takes him to watch the exam. Selena told the students to use their magic powers to communicate with spirits and pointed this out. Students started to follow him, and he asked Professor Ludger to try this. But Ludger refuses, saying Spirits doesn't like him. However, Selena tries to show Ludger that Spirit is kind, but he notices that Spirit is shaking and doesn't come near Ludger. Ludger tells her she is a shaman, and the divine spirit protects her, but she tells Selena that Spirit doesn't like her. Selena went back to check on her students, and suddenly, Ludger felt a high level of fire spirit energy still lurking in the forest. He noticed that Selena and the others who were sensitive to spirits could not sense it, and understood that it was a spirit controlled artificially by someone. If that man was explicitly watching him, then he must be another First Order hidden in Sören. Ludger got to a place where no one was and called him out. But a magic script appears telling him to meet after class at a certain location. When Ludger gets there, Esmeralda's spirit appears instead of the main body, and tells Ludger he wants his help in creating havoc in Sören because a second-order underling is missing. Ludger refuses the offer, saying he can't take the risk as Alyssa still suspects him and is still keeping quiet. The spirit stops him making fun of her for having an assistant from the organization and asks if she is planning something behind her back. They warn Esmeralda for underestimating him and say she doesn't need to explain anything. Ludger says he allowed this, skip this time, but if Esmeralda doubts his loyalty to Zero Order, he will have to pay a price. The spirit apologizes to Ludger and leaves from there. Ludger thought that the voice behind the spirit was a young woman who was an elementalist, as she could control fire spirits to a high degree. So he began to suspect Rickle. The elementalist professor has a new professor welcoming event, and he sees it as an opportunity to learn about Esmeralda. Esmeralda watches Ludger and realizes that he feels no fear in the face of his fire, and he has suspected him for no reason. Lin can tell if someone has malicious intent or bad intentions towards him. Since childhood, and the only person around him who doesn't hold any ill will towards is Freuden Ferrari. He also felt that Ludger didn't have any intention, either sadness or guilt towards him, but he couldn't figure out why. Meanwhile, Henry arrives there and informs him that he is a friend of the Freudians, but Lin senses that he holds no ill will towards her. Attends a welcoming party to find Esmeralda, but suddenly she hears a familiar voice and sees Evan Luke trying to approach Selena, but she rejects him. Ludger tries to stop Evan, but he gets offended and misbehaves with Ludger, so Ludger squeezes his hand. Evan's assistant tries to stop them, but Evan slaps help for interrupting. Suddenly, Alyssa gets there and Evan tells her to fire Ludger, if he wanted Luke's company to sponsor the academy in the future. He was throwing out empty words himself, but Evan said that his father would be on the same page as him. Surprisingly, the chairman appears there, and Alyssa asks him if he agrees with his son, but the chairman apologizes to Alyssa for acting alone like earlier. Alyssa said it was fine, but she also challenged Evan to a duel with Ludger. He is the one who accepts the challenge. However, Evan doesn't know magic, so he orders Aid to fight for him. As she was a skilled mage, but she was surprised to see Ludger beat Aid immediately when the fight started. The chief accepted as it was a fair duel, and told Alyssa not to worry about her stupid son. Selena thanks Ludger for helping her earlier and takes her to meet the professor of animism, but after meeting them, Ludger pays no attention to people like Esmeralda, and thinks she might not be among the professors. Suddenly, Lin offers Ludger a drink, and he is surprised to see her working there, but Selena points out to Ludger that his assistant Jonah Lovett, a freshman who is proficient in animism, also works there. Ludger immediately noticed that he wasn't focused on students, because the First Order was a high-level animist, so he thought he would definitely become a professor. Ludger heard several people talking about him, and that he wanted to start a business, and he was also buying cloth in bulk to enter the clothing industry. Ludger noticed that Violetta was moving faster than he thought, and he is desperate for their business. Suddenly, Ludger feels a severe pain in his head, and Claire worries about him, but Ludger tells her to give him a moment to get some fresh air. He came out on the terrace, realizing he used too much magic to finish the duel. He quickly took his medicine temporarily. Chris saw Ludger go inside after hearing people call for help, and saw Esmeralda turn into a monster. Guards begin evacuating people, and meanwhile, fifth-year Angela and fourth-year animus professor Viorano arrive to rescue with spirits. They attack Esmeralda, but none of their attacks work, and black flames start falling from the ceiling, destroying anything it touches. Ludger understood that this fire was closer to magma, and it was a rank 6 high-level spirit. Ludger couldn't understand why spirits were humanoid, as they were usually in natural forms like animals or plants, and he understood that something was wrong. Ludger saw that the monster had no basis as it incarnated using the medium to hide its identity. Ludger notices that the beast incarnates using a silver tray Jonah Elvit placed on the table. Suddenly Ludger sees Lynn trapped under the rubble. He saves her from there and applies medicine to her feet. Ludger tells him to get out of there and he heads to Esmeralda to finish it off. Fiorano uses the spirit to attack Esmeralda, but the spirit's form shatters after just one hit, and Viorano understands that they cannot defeat her at their current level of strength. Suddenly they see Ludger appear there, and he starts attacking monsters and finishes. Esmeralda uses her real magic and everyone is shocked to see this. After the incident, Viorano told Ludger that he was impressed that he found out that monsters incarnate using medium, and thanked Ludger for minimizing the damage by helping them. Arano asked Ludger if he was okay, because he used a lot of magic laws when he was not well, and was asked if he was experiencing strange symptoms, such as hearing strange sounds as these were sounds from the outside world. But Ludger denied it. After a few days, Ludger reading the news about the incident in the newspapers thinks he already knows Esmeralda's identity, and wants to pass on the information to Sören. But still, he knew that this was the first time Esmeralda had moved, and if his identity is discovered, Black Dawn will suspect him from the moment he takes it. He realized it wasn't the right time, and decided to observe a bit longer and look for opportunities. Ludger had also read that Evan was the leader of the Const auction house, and it felt very unpleasant to him after yesterday's event. Meanwhile, Violetta had arrived there because Ludger had called her early in the morning curious about how the area beside the factory was renovated. Violetta takes him to show him the newly refurbished street, and as the tenants say the street should soon be overrun by craftsmen, Violetta tells Ludger that the Kirchhoff organization is doing music to replace the circus and organization. The children and parents were preparing the magazines he mentioned. Violetta shows him the newly opened tailor, and they plan to start with more approachable clothes. Then slowly, he invested in the luxury of the brand. Violetta seems confident because she dreamed of this moment, and Ludger asks her to come with him to meet the people they will be working with. She informs Violetta that Bella Luna is in charge of producing drugs and gunpowder, while the other members of Phantos and Arfa also arrive there. And Ludger brought them inside to talk. Like the others, Ludger clarifies that he offered it because he is capable enough to join them, and then demands the answer. Violetta agrees to work with them, and Ludger tells everyone that in the coming days, they will be raiding the Const auction site, because he wanted it. Something from there, Alex reminded Ludger that no one had been able to raid a custom auction house in the past 20 years, and the security there had also been beefed up due to recent events. Alex asks Ludger if he is sure he must have a plan in mind, and Ludger tells Hans to take him and show him the blueprints of the auction house and their destination. The next day, Ludger sees Selena and Jonah talking to a man, and goes to them to ask how Selena is doing. Selena tells them she is fine, and thanks her for keeping the students safe. Selena apologizes to Ludger that she couldn't help him, but Ludger says that it was her demeanor that calmed people down while they were evacuating, and she did her best in the role she was suddenly assigned to. The bell rings, and Selena goes to her class along with Jonah, after which she meets Sedina to tell her to investigate Jonah for him meanwhile at the Const auction site. Evan was eagerly awaiting someone's arrival, as this was an excellent opportunity for him to regain his father's trust. Suddenly, Alex arrives disguised as Lord Argara Muslim, along with a fan who is his bodyguard, and Evan welcomes them. On entry, Alex gives Evan his magic stone to keep in the same place. Alex says that his family uses magic liquid to produce high-quality magic stones, and this is the prototype of their business that he can't take anywhere. So Evan took it down to the basement to store it there, while Alex has a device in his ear to communicate with the Ludger. Alex notices that the entrance to the dungeon is an elevator that opens with one key, and all items are stored 30 meters underground. Above it was an artifact that was watching everyone's movements. Ludger told him to look inside the storage room, and told Alex to pack things up and come back quickly. Suddenly, Alex hears a familiar voice and tells Ludger that Knight is his ex-girlfriend who is also there. Ludger tells Alex to get the hell out of there, so Alex tells Evan he has to leave, as he prefers to talk about their business in private. After returning, Alex explained to everyone that the structure of the auction house was almost the same as the map Hans had shown them, But the auction item storage room was divided into 3 rooms, and the most valuable items were stored in the room with the highest number. Alex informs that the auction duration is 3 days, and everyday items from each room are auctioned, starting with those in the first room. Ludger says that their plan will be put into play on the second day, because according to Alex, on the third day, the auction house's security will become strengthened, and on the first day, a lot of attention will be garnered by the auction. Violetta asks Alex about Ania, and he says not to worry, and will perfectly do the role set for her. On the other hand, Casey reaches Lebrical with the assistant. Detective Betty asks Casey why he's carrying so much useless stuff, which includes documents on incidents from the last 5 years, and he says that this is necessary because he has to move faster because it's going to rain. Suddenly it starts to rain, and while leaving the train station, Betty tells Casey that strange things have been happening in town lately, and tells her about the appearance of the cryptids. Casey says that those are no ordinary cryptids, and that James Moriarty's last traces are also heading here. Betty asked if she heard James Moriarty died fighting Casey beside a waterfall, and they both fell off a cliff. But he says that's not true, he's not dead yet. She tells him that he is still alive, and that he also has some evidence on the second night. At the auction, Ludger tells his team to start working on their plan, and Violetta is tasked with finding the key to the elevator entrance. Violetta asks the lockmaster to show her to her room because she is drunk, and plans to snatch the keys from her. The lockmaster takes Violetta to her room, as she says that she forgot her room number and tries to do something with it, but he knocks her out with one shot and starts looking for the necessary keys. Meanwhile, the auction event started, and Arender was also present there. Suddenly Casey arrives there, and Arender asks Casey if they know each other, but he says that he knows Arender is a princess, because there are rumors that the princess is coming to this auction. Casey tells Arender that he is a detective. Arender immediately admits that he is a famous water wizard who earned the title and asks what he is doing in Ledrical. Daisy says that she was invited by someone, and besides that there are always incidents at important events like this. While Ludger was grouping with his group members, Evan suddenly stopped him after seeing him there and asked him if he was enjoying tonight's auction. Ludger replied that it was worth a visit, and said he would go, but Evan asked his bodyguards to escort him personally. Ludger realizes he can't move as planned, and calls for help, but Hans needs the device to work, for him to go anywhere. Suddenly a guard catches them, but Arfa immediately knocks them out, and decides to hide them in a pile of trash. After trying a while, Alex manages to reach downstairs to meet Violetta after escaping. However, Violetta gives him the key, and soon meets a ghost outside the elevator to give him the key. They saw the number of guards increasing at the entrance because of the auction, and told Bella to get her started. Bella Luna released tear gas inside the hall, and everyone thought it was a terrorist attack, and people started running towards the guards for help. Both guards remained at the elevator entrance. Meanwhile, others rushed to save people, and now Alex tells Phantos to take care of these 2 guards, so Phantos takes them down with one punch. Alex tells that they are taking care of the guards, and Hans says that he and Arfa went inside disguised as servants, but Ludger is still trapped in the auction room, because guard Evan is watching him. He also saw Casey there, and thought he couldn't recognize her so easily. Ludger was worried because if he got in the way of their operations, all their plans could go down the drain, and he expected his subordinates to quietly and quickly complete the task. While the guard inside the security room saw the live feed of artifacts, both rooms were shaken and shocked to see intruders enter the room by digging into the wall. After hearing about the intruders, Evan summoned all the guards after hearing about the intruders and divided the guards into transfer and raid teams. Evan, seeing the intruder collect all the artifacts, told his guards to transfer the items to Storage Room 3 and ordered the raid team to capture the hostiles in Storage Room. Also, the raid team entered the storage room where the hostel is, but they were shocked to see no one there and told Evan about this. Evan was shocked and thought they must have mistaken the tape for another storage room, but the screen changed and they realized it was a fake screen. Evan ordered the raid team's guards to move things to a safe place with the help of the transfer team in the elevator room. Suddenly, Aide realized it was a trap and told Evan that someone had targeted the storage room 3 times since the beginning. Meanwhile, the raid team informs them that the elevator leading to the surface has collapsed, and they ask for Evan's help, as they can't get out of it. Evan got confused and didn't know what to do, but he was about to tell everyone to come with him and head out to stop the hostel, but Bella Luna locked their door from outside. 30 minutes earlier, Hans and Arful put on the armor of a guard which the ghost beats, and the 4 of them disguised themselves. When the transfer team moved all the goods to a safe location using the elevator, Hans and the others dropped them in the elevator. Alex told everyone to get out of the elevator immediately because he messed it up so the assault team there couldn't make up. They load everything in their transport and are about to leave, but Hans says that he will be back as he needs Ludger to check something and tells the others to leave. After that, Hans reported to Ludger that the others had left safely and informed him to move towards the central hall to show him the relic he was looking for. Ludger saw that the guards watching him had also left due to the situation inside, and now he could go and meet Hans outside. While Hans is waiting for Ludger, and suddenly he sees some suspicious people there, and they attack him. Some robbers attack the auction hall, and Ludger sees a robber running towards him. He notices that the vest is the same as the one who blew up the train he was on, and he is immediately killed. The assailant who was running towards him, Ludger saw that the guardian of the auction room was killed, using black magic, and was worried whether Hans was safe. Meanwhile, Arender barely makes it out, but he's identified by the mugger they are looking to catch him. But suddenly they find themselves trapped in a bubble created by Casey, and unable to break it. Betty also takes care of 2 robbers and clears the way, while Anaya arrives there killing all the robbers in her path. And Casey told everyone to combine efforts to get out of there. A coward because he always runs away from fights, but Ludger keeps him on his team because he knows what can be done. Hans tells Ludger he lives in an orphanage, where he hung out with a girl when he was little, and she brought him a cute puppy. One day it bit him lightly, and it was Hans's first transformation and the killing of his life. Ludger gives him a dagger and tells him to use it if he wants to fight back instead of running away in the auction house. Ludger lies injured on the ground with a relic in his hand which the mugger takes from him, but Hans tries to stop him. The mugger kicks Hans and leaves him to die there, but suddenly Hans musters his strength and looks at the dagger Ludger gave him to use in this kind of situation. Hans stabbed his hand with a dagger made of fat bones and turned into that monster, and the robbers were scared to see. Upon returning, Phantos also sensed the presence of a dangerous beast in the auction house. Alex remembered that Ludger had told him once that Phantos was the second strongest among their group. Ludger and Alex were the third. But when Alex asked him Ludger, Alex felt that the power they felt from the auction house might be stronger than Hans. But on the other hand, Evan felt devastated after escaping from there. But Aide told him that all the guests were evacuated safely. Suddenly Evan remembered about a princess and ordered his bodyguards to rush to save her, but a monster appeared there, and they were scared to see him. Evan admits that the monsters are Jevedin who wreaked havoc on Duraming 5 years ago, and Hans starts killing people while orders arrive to defend the place and tell people to evacuate. Command decides to take down the monster to protect the civilians, but Hans starts attacking them. The building is about to collapse, so Casey evacuates the building with the others using his protective bubble, and they are surprised to see a monster outside the auction house. Casey immediately remembers that the beast died 5 years ago, and he saw the corpse in the Duramang Royal Museum. But he realized that the monster's corpse did not resemble the legs of the human-like beast in the auction house. He was sure of the possibility that Moriarty was present there and wondered what he was planning in the city. Casey started attacking the monster to stop it. But it broke his magic, and he was surprised, so he took out his umbrella and attacked with a night order made of water. The Clockwork Command thought this was their chance to win and started attacking the monster, while Ludger noticed that Hans was using a dagger. He teleported from there to return to his form to take control of Casey's hand, and the command to destroy was successful. But suddenly they saw a bunch of mice approaching them. Casey is surprised to see the monsters controlling the rats to attack them, and he is afraid of the rats. They start to stop the rats, but there are many of them, and the rats join the severed heads of the monsters and form a cryptid to attack. Clockwork Knights. Casey's sequence is interrupted by rats, but he needs to buy time to evacuate the citizens from there. Suddenly all the monsters stopped fighting and they started looking towards the roof of the auction house, where Ludger had appeared in a different outfit. Casey immediately recognized that it was James Moriarty by the sight of his mask covering his face, and he knew that he was the most dangerous being there. Ludger knew that Hans was still alive, and a monster, and rescuing the underlings was the duty of a leader. Ludger starts attacking the beast, and Casey is surprised to see the monster's head start to disappear with his attack. Casey's sword tells everyone to stay away from there because he trusts Moriarty, as he tries to get rid of the monster while Ludger attacks the beast with tear gas and uses magic to stab him. Ludger attacks the cryptids with his gun to kill them, stabbing the monster and shooting him with his rifle. Ludger appears there with masks on their faces, and someone injects the beast with a drug to protect the hand from the monster's body. The clockwork keeper wonders if the beast has died as the crying stops, and meanwhile Ludger tells the others the hand will be fine, as its ability to recover when transformed is impressive. They decide to get the hell out of there before the knights arrive, but Casey suddenly stops James Moriarty. Ludger warns him that he doesn't value his life, which he barely managed to keep up with the last time he fought with him. Casey says that he won't give up easily, and asks what identity he's headed in this town. Because he knows he keeps changing identities, and he will chase him until the end of the world. Ludger doesn't know that he is digging into his past, and thinks if his identity gets known, he won't be able to hide considering people know his face. It won't be easy for him, so he decides to kill him right there. However, Casey blames all of his troubles in the Auxilian Empire on him and his organization. Black Dawn and he is shocked that he brought that up. Ludger says that he won't stop him from arresting him, but there must be terrorists and civilians who haven't escaped from the auction house and are threatening him with people's lives. Daisy decides to finish him off with full force and stop them from escaping. Ludger destroys his attack and says he is getting better, but he can't stop it. Meanwhile, Betty tries to attack Alex, but he hits her, and Hans manages to block the attack. Anyas, who wonders who he is because he stopped his stun sword. Clockwork Knights are coming there, so Ludger immediately run away from there with his team. If he warns him, he will get rid of him. Since 100 years ago, mankind has continuously developed their science and knowledge. To their joy and hope, finally, the scientists and researchers have managed to learn how to travel to outer space and other dimensions. Scientists then manage to open the portal between worlds. Unfortunately, the world behind the portal is unlike anything they have ever imagined. As if a nightmare had come true, something to the astonishment of everyone, beyond the space portal was a completely new and never-before-seen world. Not friendly aliens or the world like in the stories and movies, but a giant dark space where there are lots of wild beasts and rampaging monsters. The technology and weaponry that human beings have always held in high esteem are now completely rendered useless in front of these Herculean beasts. As all of the scientists were unable to shut down the space portal, humanity quickly fell to the bottom of the food chain in a single night. Humankind can only surrender, hide, or keep running away from these monsters. But of course, there are still many humans who don't want to give up and fight against the monsters. The human desire to live is so strong. Thus, a primal hunting instinct began to awaken within some humans, and they managed to gain unexpected powers. This magical moment started with the first monster eater, when the human body begins to experience a change and is now able to save the earth. With this awakening, they started hunting the beasts and stealing their beast souls. After 100 years of endless evolution, humans have finally fused with the beast souls. At the same time, they have also been able to understand the secrets behind all this, and they go through continuous evolution. All humans will have a chance to survive in this cruel world, maybe even have a chance to turn into a god. As it is, now this new world is called by humans the Sanctuary of the Gods. Meanwhile, the scene turned to the holy place, the steel armor which is said to be one of God's sanctuary. A handsome man named Hansen has graduated from high school and is already 18 years old. Thus, he was legally permitted to enter the holy place of a god who was extremely dangerous. Even though Hansen was said to have no talent, after his father died and his mother was too weak to work and his younger sister needed money to go to school, he became the backbone of the family. Therefore, he entered the god's sanctuary to earn money. After that, Hansen was walking in the middle of the city and felt his eyes twitch continuously. He thought that was a lucky sign, but it suddenly started to rain heavily. Not only that, Hansen suddenly saw the figure of a wolf beast in an alley. Without thinking twice, he immediately attacked with his sword using the style of 1,000 years of suffering. Hansen managed to stab her buttocks, but suddenly, the wolf beast turned into a beautiful woman. Huh? A woman's butt? Is this a human? Of course, Hansen was surprised. The people present saw what happened and were flabbergasted by the audacity of Hansen, who managed to stab Qin Xuan in the buttocks. Did he not know about the beast's soul's transformation? I think we're about to witness a very interesting scene, said one of them. Turns out the beast was Qin Xuan, who was said to be the strongest woman in the steel armor sanctuary. Understandably, Qin Xuan was furious. Immediately, Hansen was surrounded by muscular men from all directions. Everyone, listen up. From today onwards, if anybody dares to help him or be with him, they are immediately my enemy. Qin declared in front of the mass. Hearing that, Hansen can only cry because of his misfortune and stupidity. What did I just do? I stabbed Qin in the butt. This is a nightmare, he wailed pitifully. A few days later at the sacred place of steel armor, precisely on the garden rocks, Hansen was hunting black armor beetles and eating them, but his gene points won't go up. Hansen also muttered that he had been in the holy place for a long time, but had not been able to complete any physical evolution yet. He also thought about looking for a slightly bigger monster, but before that, Hansen fought a primitive-level monster and ended up being seriously injured. If I didn't stab that woman's buttocks, maybe I could cooperate with the people to defeat the primitive monsters easily, Hansen muttered. Suddenly, Hansen saw a golden light far ahead, and it turned out to be a black armor beetle. Hansen felt that the beetle was a little different, but he immediately attacked and defeated it. It turned out to be a black armor beetle with God's blood rank. Hansen was surprised to see that. It is said that the characteristics of the monster circle are grouped into 4 different ranks. There are normal, primitive, mutant, and godblood. The godblood rank is the most difficult to obtain, so of course Hansen even feels he got something great. He also obtained a god-level soul beast, meaning that Hansen's armor type would be upgraded drastically. He didn't expect his dream to come true so quickly. Hansen also wanted to try to merge with this beast's soul. Then his appearance became very cool. Hansen also felt his body was very light, so he tried to destroy some rocks. As he predicted, the rocks were easily destroyed. I never thought that I would one day obtain an armor-type god-rank blood beast soul. Eventually I will make a name for myself and become famous, said Hansen. After that, he went home and cooked the god-rank black armor beetle. His status also rose to 7 points. Then Hansen took out a crystal that he got on the body of the black armor beetle. But suddenly the monster that was locked up in the cage swallowed the crystal instead. Hey, spit it out! That crystal is mine! When the monster doesn't move, Hansen started to wonder whether the monster is dead. Suddenly the monster evolved and attacked Hansen, but he swiftly slaughtered him. The notification also informed him that he had defeated the monster, but Hansen was surprised and did not expect that the monster had evolved to a primitive level, even though its level was very low before. Was it because he swallowed the crystal earlier? Knowing this, Hansen immediately opened the stomach and took the crystal. Meanwhile, outside the house, Hansen's mother and sister were visited by his uncle. The uncle and his wife said that they were asking for inheritance rights from the house left by Hansen's father, and they asked for 2 million. Otherwise, Hansen's family has to sell this house and share the money. If in 1 month the money is not given to them, then the only way is to sell this house, said this jerk uncle. After that they left. Then Hansen, who heard the commotion, approached his mother and sister. His mother also explained the message that his uncle asked for 2 million. Otherwise, this house would be sold. Hansen, who heard that, was very angry. They are so shameless. When they used to have a lot of debt, father helped them. When he died, this is what they did instead, Hansen said. Her mother weeps, saying that this was all her fault for not being able to protect this house. Hearing this, Hansen said, "You don't need to worry, Mom. I will solve this problem and no one will take over the house. So, Mom, please take care of my sister and wait for me." After leaving these words, Hansen was gone. The scene turned to Hansen, who had arrived at a station. He was thinking about the God blood gene he had obtained. But the problem was that Hansen couldn't raise God's blood gene points to 100 points in a short time. But there is still hope. With conviction, Hansen thought, I'll go to Windfall Valley. I'll use it to earn a lot of money to pay for the compensation for the house. Hansen was already in the valley of Windfall Valley. Suddenly, Hansen felt something approaching. A primitive-level storm mantis monster appeared. The mantis is said to be agile and has jagged arms that can cut through steel. Without further ado, he immediately attacked the mantis. But because this monster is very agile, he can avoid and parry Hansen's attack, even giving out counterattacks from time to time. But because Hansen has the god armor, even though this insect attack can split steel, he should still be able to beat him. Hansen continued to attack and succeeded in defeating this mantis. "With this armor, I will be able to rule the world," he said arrogantly. Many other mantises came to attack, but Hansen finished off the horde of mantis with his enthusiasm. "Looks like all of you are wiped out," he said. Meanwhile, on the other side of Windfall Valley, there is a rich kid named Xu Xiao, who is Qin Shuan's underling. He hopes to bring out a mutant-level monster so that Qin Shuan can praise him. He was walking and saw a lot of blood from a battle. He was also aware there are many corpses of mantis scattered around him. Then he saw Hansen's figure and asked, "Did you kill all these locusts?" he asked Hansen. "Yes. Do you want it? 1,000 levro each if you want." Hansen had accidentally killed too many mantis, and it was impossible to eat them all. "Are you sure the price is 1,000 each? Even if it costs 50,000, I'll consider it a down payment. As long as there's good stuff, I'm willing to pay for it at a high price," said the boy as he handed the money to Hansen. "Tell me your name and your address. I will come to find you when I have anything good," Hansen replied. The boy then said that his name is Xu Xiao, and he lives in the Steel Armor Sanctuary number 1046. "Okay, I'll go somewhere else first. So if I get something good, I'll come to you. See you again." With this, Hansen left the place. Some time passed, and the scene turned to Hansen, who was already in the nest of the copper-toothed beast herd. Hansen immediately attacked the herd and defeated them easily. Hansen also realized that previously he had killed all the mantis, and this time he would leave one to raise and upgrade using crystals. Then Hansen got a primitive soul beast weapon with copper teeth in the form of a spear, so he also practiced with it. After that, Hansen went home carrying a copper-toothed beast. He entered the gate. In front of the gate, he met an army of troops led by a person named Xian Tianzi, who was said to be the person who was going to propose to Qin Shuan. He also saw Hansen, who was carrying a primitive-level beast, and immediately attacked Hansen. "Hey, who dares to sell primitive beasts to you?" he said. "This guy is screwed. If I'm told anyone has the guts to sell you anything, then I'll make sure you both die a painful death." After giving him a death glare, Xian Tianzi left the place. Then Tianzi's men said to Hansen, "You are lucky that we were in the middle of a hunt. Otherwise, we will surely fix you with our fist." What a bunch of morons, Hansen thought. Looks like I'll have to use the crystals to increase my strength as soon as possible. I'll let them prance a little longer. Sooner or later, I will get my revenge. 3 days later in Hansen's room, the copper-toothed beast had evolved into the originally primitive mutant. Hansen wanted to let him evolve again while waiting. While waiting, he wanted to hunt primitive-level beasts to make money. Suddenly, Hansen heard people talking about something from his security gap. They were talking about a blood-level beast found on the sunset slope. Hansen headed to the slope as the sun was setting. There was also Qin Shuan's army and Xian Tianzi's army attacking the god-level beasts. With their disheveled look, it was as if they had been beaten up by the god-level beast. Hansen can understand that the god-tier beast is indeed very strong. Tianzi and his army were facing a god-level berserker base, and many of his troops were massacred. Seeing that, Tianzi was very angry and wanted to beat the beast as soon as possible. After that, Tianzi's army and Qin Shuan managed to surround and corner the beasts. The god-level beast wanted to run away, but before the beast managed to escape, Tianzi took out his beast's soul weapon. It was said that the beast soul that Tianzi had was of the god blood level, namely the 6-winged poison wasp. Then Tianzi attacked the berserker who was running away. The weapon shot and hit him. The beast was successfully defeated. Seeing that, Qin Shuan was shocked that Tianzi managed to defeat the monster with just one strike. Tianzi just smiled at the person he liked. Tianzi wanted to take the prey he had hunted, namely the god-level beast's soul. But suddenly a golden light shot and took the god-level beast's soul, and it turned out that person was Hansen. Hansen ran away, carrying a god-level soul beast in the form of an axe in his hand. Xu Xiao, who saw that, realized who he was and said, "That's Brother Hansen." Tianzi, who also saw that, was shocked, and of course so very angry. "Insolent! How dare a lowly human like you take my prey?" he said while taking out his riding animal. He chased and ordered his troops to help chase the axe thief. Realizing that Tianzi and his troops were chasing him, Hansen thought, "Why is this ship so heavy?" Even though previously Hansen had raised his god blood gene points to 8. But it was still difficult to carry it. At this rate, they will catch up and catch me. Damn, I'm going to die this time. Hansen then thought and looked for ways how he could get out of this situation. Sen closed his eyes and muttered, "Mother, I'm sorry. I'm a useless son." Suddenly he remembered his father's voice saying, "Are you going to stop here?" In the memory, when he was with his father, at that time his father was playing a simulation game. "Why do you want to stop?" "This is just a game, you should raise it to level 2, his father said. But Hansen said that it was very dangerous because his character had been surrounded by monsters. If you don't have preparation, it will be very dangerous. Then his father also said, "The danger is everywhere. You can't stay silent just because you're afraid. Evolution is an adventure that all creatures will experience." Hansen's father began to attack using his arrows, then used a sword and managed to defeat monsters, and his father's character managed to level up. If you are too afraid to adventure, how can you survive when you enter God's sanctuary? If you want to evolve, you have to be ruthless. Everything in this world is similar to a game. You will be surrounded by enemies with nowhere to run. "Are you ready to get stronger?" asked his father. He seemed hesitant to answer. But his father realized that Hansen is a smart person and is very careful, but also very kind. "This is indeed just a game. The real world can be crueler, more than you can imagine. There will be many circumstances where you can only rely on yourself. I can help you, but only for the first couple of times," said his father. Hansen's also held his hand, who was holding a sword, and stabbed himself. Immediately, Hansen leveled up. Seeing that, Hansen was surprised. Then his father said, "You have to try to get stronger if you want to survive. Do you have what it takes to become stronger?" Sen opened his eyes, and would not give up because there was still hope to escape. But Tianzi was already very close and ready to attack. Sen didn't even think anymore. He immediately combined the soul of the Berker beast and the black beetle. Although according to Hansen it was very dangerous, but he had no other choice. Hansen also managed to combine it. There's always a way out. San also ran away quickly, because combining his beast soul is said to have a 90% mortality rate. Seeing that, the troops who followed Sen did not expect that Hansen managed to combine the soul beasts in a state of escape. This kid is really crazy. He also ordered to chase and look for the soul beast thief that he hunted. Sen fled into the forest. Then his men said that it would be difficult to find him when he entered the forest with our few troops. Meanwhile, Qin Xuan thinks this person stole the axe and also received the beast soul from the god, which should all belong to the Tianshi. Then the people there also talked about Tianzi not catching Hansen. Rumors spread that the person who took Tianzi's prey was named Bigot. Meanwhile, in a remote corner of the forest, there is a penny. Middle burying an axe, he also thinks of using it to escape. If it was used to fight against Tianji, he could have died due to the fusion of beast souls. It only lasted 7 to 8 minutes. Unlike other soul beasts, this ship cannot be stored in space because I have angered Tianzi. Wow, that doesn't even make you angry. 3 alliances, that's why I buried this axe here. Beast souls are mandatory survival defense and cannot be sold. But this axe can be easily sold for 2 million. Hansen also returned to the shelter steel armor. In front of the Sen gate saw an inspection, and also people talking about Bigot, who said he didn't dare to come out of the forest after stealing the soul of a beast hunted by Tianshi. Hansen also thought that if I was investigated, then I would be found out. But the person who was about to check was stopped by his friend, who said there was no need to torture this trash because it would be a waste of time. Then the penny was let through just like that. After that, Hansen, who was walking, heard a lot of people talking about him. Sen thought the Sultan's son called me Abang Coin. Now everyone calls me Big. Meanwhile, in the secret room, there was the Sultan's son Qin Xuan was integrating. Qin Xuan said if he didn't stop it, you would be tortured to death by Tianshi. "So just tell me who it was," Qin Xuan asked. "Brother, I really don't know Coin brother. I met him in the Windfall Valley and bought him some primitive grasshoppers. After that, I brought him home with the help of my brothers. If you don't believe me, just ask them. Well, I'm not trying to punish you. Now I just want to contact the Coin and tell him that I will buy the soul beast that he stole so expensively. It's just me and you, so if you succeed, I'll give you a prize. Deep in the mountains, there is Hansen eating meat on the edge of Blackwater Swamp and wants to increase his mutant gene points. But the mutant game points haven't gone up. Meanwhile, the beasts in the swamp monitor Sen's activities. Suddenly, Sen heard something from the bushes. A human figure in tattered clothes came out. "Stopping here is dangerous. There is a crocodile with iron teeth in this swamp, so you better stay away," Sen said. Then the person asked, "Where is this? Which direction is the glory shelter? This is the northern border of the steel armor shelter, and also I don't know the glory shelter." That person also said, Armor shelter? Did I buy too far into another holding area? Hi boy, take me anywhere. What are you talking about? Is he trying to order me?" But because this Hansen is kind and not arrogant, he also said that you go straight south. Later there will be a shelter base, and you will arrive before dusk as long as you don't walk slowly. That's all I can help because I still want to hunt. But suddenly the man hit Penny from behind, making Penny fall to the rock. The Penny's head was bleeding, making the Penny very upset. "What do you want? Shut up and follow my orders. Deliver me shelter." Do you always talk like this to people who want to help you?" Sen said while taking out a spear weapon. Then Hansen attacked him. But unfortunately, it turns out that Uncle is not an ordinary person. He parried with his bare hands and broke Hansen's spear. Seeing that, Sen realized that this person was using a gene hypercore art. It is said Monday is the art of awakening the potential in the genes, through ancient martial arts and binding the core to Monday, and can only be learned in elite schools. "I'll give you one last chance." "You can take me shelter or die," asked this person. "Didn't your family teach you manners when you were young?" "Of course I will take you. Lead you to your death," said as he put on his god-grade armor and attacked him. They both attack each other. Sen didn't even expect that Ohm could scratch his armor. That person guessed that this Penny's hormone was of the god blood level, having successfully resisted the attack of his jade skin art. "Leave the armor to me, because you don't deserve it. But as long as the person suddenly attacks him. But it's a shame this person can parry and attack back and make Sen vomit blood. Trash will forever remain trash. Even though you have a soul beast armor blood," God said this person. "Shut up." Sen also pointed at the person on the nose. "Today I will finish you off," he said as he changed the beast soul type to bloodthirsty fused mode. Seeing that the people were surprised, then Sen attacked him with a very strong punch. Instantly the person immediately died. Who are you calling trash? It's true that people breaking the rules are trash, but people who have no morals are lower than trash. Even though I use a beast soul with a horn, and as a barrier I use a black beetle armor, still this guy's punch is too strong for this guy doesn't have a beast soul. Otherwise I will die. After that, Hansen also examined the person's body, and found a memory chip in his clothes. Hansen had come home, and was in his room. Sen also realized that the memory chip he got was not an ordinary chip, and he checked it. It turned out that the chip contained jade shell art details. Wow, isn't it Monday? I was fortunate enough to find a high level without spending a dime. Originally, I wanted to save money to buy a hybrid core gen machine. This will save me a lot of money. 3 days passed. Sen managed to master the art of jade skin. Sen also felt his skin feel colder and as if his skin had become very smooth. Then Sen also checked his body temperature, and his features also showed that Cell had mastered the jade skin art. But what makes Penny think is that the memory chip cannot be stored. Maybe there will be hidden risks ahead, sooner or later. But suddenly Sen got a call from his cousin and asked him to go somewhere. Tianzi sent people to look for me all over the place, but he doesn't know who I really am, right? I should be safe to get out. After that, Sen went for a walk with his cousin in the car. His cousin also brought a girl and told the greatness of Bigot when the sun set in the valley. He wouldn't hurt a girl. I actually don't want anything to do with her because of complicated family matters. They had arrived at the martial arts hall. There were many people shouting Jin Yu's name. Lots of people came. Is this a very famous person? Last year he was ranked 5th in the first shrine. His name was engraved on the monument. Even Qin Xuan, the person who became the strongest tier 1 in armor, did not get that honor. Then Tang Jenny, who had not yet shown her nose, took out her beast soul of God's blood, making all the spectators amazed to see it, and wishing they had a beast like that. What about a berserker beast soul? Sen's cousin, the one with glasses on his forehead, answered, I don't care who big it is, but he got it by stealing the soul of a berserker beast, so it can't be compared to a genius. Hearing that, Sen thought he would not give it up. Tianzi had been his enemy from the start anyway. Half a month passed. Sen managed to evolve the iron-toothed crocodile into a mutant and was going to sell it for 2 million. After that, Hansen also asked to meet the boy Sultan in the Windfall Valley. Sen also handed him the meat of a mutant-grade iron-toothed crocodile. Thank you, Brother Coin. Oh yes, brother. You know I work under King Xuan, right? He wanted to tell you that he wanted to buy the Soul Beast Berserker and the axe at a very good price. But instead, Hansen wanted to leave saying, I'll think about it again, if she's really charming for a good price. In the bottomless pit, there was Sen who was carrying a sack of poisoned scorpion crystal beasts. He said that the poison crystal scorpion couldn't hurt me because of this soul-best armor of God's blood of mine, and I almost killed them all. But suddenly a very soft voice called out, Is that you? Sen turned his head, and how surprised San saw Qin Xuan. He asked Sen to take him out with him. Huh. Do you want me to carry you? Asked Sen. Why are you so surprised? Can't you see that my ankle is injured? Qin Xuan replied. Oh yeah, what am I worried about? He doesn't recognize me thanks to my armor. Maybe I can take advantage of it, thought Penny. Then Sen said, Looks like you got hurt from the scorpion poison crystal. How can that be when you're so strong? This mutant-level poison crystal scorpion is so cunning he just attacks, when I forgot I was burned to the ground. Then Sen also wanted to hold him, but he took out his god-level poison butterfly dagger and said that this Hansen should not mess around and take advantage of him. Hey, don't get me wrong. I didn't mean anything. Didn't you ask me to carry you? This woman can read his mind. Then Qin Xuan said if he managed to get him out of the bottomless pit safely, he would give him some money. According to him, Hansen only thought about money, because the news he got when he made a deal with his men, the Sultan's son told him for sure about money. Hearing that Sen said that it was true, he needed money, but at the moment it was not urgent. But earlier you said a mutant-level poison crystal scorpion, right? Is he dead? Asked Sen. I killed him back there. Why? I can carry going out, but I don't need the money. But in exchange I want a soul beast-level mutant and a poison crystal scorpion that you defeated as payment, Hansen said. The two of them came out of the bottomless pit. Hansen carried the beautiful and strongest woman on the spot. The steel armor asked to let her down. Outside the shelter, Sen also understands and also doesn't want to get into trouble when people see them together. Then Qin Xuan thought, when he saw the penny eat the ordinary poison crystal scorpion and was very full, just to bring around the mutant level, Qin Xuan also felt penniless, and also not affected by his scorpion poison. Was this armor of the God Realm level 2? After that, Sen put Qin Xuan down and demanded payment in the form of a beast soul. He gave it. Then Qin Xuan said this henchman told you before, right? That I'd buy beast souls and a god-level axe. Are you willing to sell it? If it's a soul beast, I won't sell it. But if the axe can cost 1 mutant beast soul and 2 million, answer sense. It couldn't be used outside of the shelter, so it had a power limit. Don't you think that's outrageous? How about 6 million? Because that's my limit, and no mutant beast soul. Okay, agreed. Prepare the money, yes. And later I will let you know the time and place through your men. The son of the Sultan. Huh. I know he's that greedy. After that, Sen walked in the middle of the city of steel armor. He also ran into his cousin. His cousin also heard that Sen was causing trouble with Qin Xuan and Tianshi. Therefore, his cousin doesn't want Sen to tell people that he and Sen are cousins. So basically, we are foreigners. In place of steel armor, even though I didn't make trouble with Qin Xuan and Tianshi. He certainly would never consider me his cousin either. He was already at his house, and Hansen got a lot of money from his hunting and buying and selling. Finally, I was able to pay 2 million so that this house was not sold by my bastard uncle and aunt. Oh yeah, let's have fun with mom and sister, which was what Sen said after that. Sen took his mother and sister for a walk and stopped at an ice cream shop. Sister Yan. Do you want ice cream? I'll treat you, so eat all you can, okay? Sen said. Have a lot of money. At least we use money wisely. You don't have to worry about me not only making money. I also got a mutant. I will get stronger and earn more money so we can live better. Then his mother and sister wanted to go to the second floor because there were many people on the first floor. But someone prevented them. That person said the second floor was only for nobles and celebrities. Hearing that, Sen a little furious. Her mother and said, let us wait over there and give her sister an ice cream. Her mother said softly. Nobles and celebrities, I swear I'll get what I want. Soon this little sign will never stop me again. Sentenga was in a train with so many passengers crammed together. Suddenly the train stopped, making Penny's balance disturbed and fell. What is this soft feeling? Thought Penny. You pervert, he said as he hit a penny, and it was Chinchuan. You are fucking. Jeez. Why him again? Last time the ass and now the chest. I can't handle this crazy luck, thought Penny. Chinchuan also said, and thought that this Penny was just a fool at first, but did not deny that it was very disgusting. The people who saw it said, "Did you see it?" He touches his chest. He is a pervert and is not in his right mind. But Hansen defended himself because this incident was a misunderstanding, because the train's brakes suddenly knocked him off balance. So it was just a coincidence, he said. But Chinchuan didn't believe it, because he didn't think San showed any remorse, even when he did that. So basically you do it often, right? After that they got off the train, also headed to the shelter, and would not just let the penny loose, and just wait. I'm always watching you. He said what his men had been waiting for, which turned out to be them calling Shuan as captain. Sen was surprised to hear that. So he's also a captain? That means from now on he will start tracking my whereabouts. Oh, my luck is terrible. Sen then thought of a way not to be watched by Chinchuan, as he thought it would be dangerous if he found out his identity as a coin. But suddenly someone called Hansen. I invite you to join in on a job. Sorry. Looks like you have a big job. I'm just a kid, so it's not appropriate to join, Hansen said. Finally, he joined in a mission given by Tianji. They all got money and primitive-grade beast meat. They entered the forest, but did not find any beast. Then they arrived at a Goa. They were told to enter a cave that was so dark, so did Hansen. They also explored Goa and arrived at a river. They also said there was no other way. Then he took out several rubber boats in order to cross the river. They crossed the river, but Sen realized that Tianzi and his 2 men had not crossed with them. Hansen also felt that something was wrong. Hansen also saw something under the rubber boat. Suddenly a creature appeared. A jade ink dragon serpent bloodline beast appeared. Many troops were eaten by the jade dragon snake beasts, and some fled in terror. But Tianji instead slashed the people who ran away and said, "You bastards! Want to run away after receiving money from me? From now on, whoever escapes will be cut down." After that, the jade ink dragon serpent beasts dived in, and not wasting any chance, they all continued crossing the river, likewise with sense. But suddenly the boat itself and diving while entering its god blood armor mode. It was said that originally there were 34 troops, now there are 7 people left. Then he said Z's incident, that the snakes seem to have had their fill. So now it's quite safe to cross. Tianzi and his army crossed over, not expecting to get 2 god-grade jade ink eggs. At this rate my god blood points will rise to the peak. Tianzi then ordered 2 people to carry the 2 eggs. However, the jade ink snake beast realized its eggs were about to be taken and attacked. But Tianzi with a brush saved him, and took the 2 eggs with him. Tianzi ran away with the 2 eggs, but suddenly an arm appeared and hit Tianzi. Got it, he said, which turned out to be pennies. Then he ran away with the 2 eggs. Seeing that, Tianji was so angry. Damn, why are you again, coin? Then Sen ran, muttering, I didn't think I was so lucky after swimming diving. But Sen was intercepted by the jade ink snake. Damn, there is one more, said Sen, while behind, Tianzi was chasing him. Suddenly Sen throws 1 egg to Tianji. Here, take one. Let's work together to defeat this jade ink snake first, said Sen. Huh? Who wants to work together? I will kill you and take the other egg. Tianzi also realized that the egg he was holding had broken and angered the snake. The beast also targeted Tianshi, while Hansen ran away with 1 remaining egg. Coin back, you bastard. In the steel armor place there was Hansen, who was having his fill of eating god-grade eggs. His god blood points rose to 13. Suddenly a very gentle voice was heard. You really know how to hide. Do you think I'll let you go if you don't show up for half a month? He said, which turned out to be Chinchuan, which made Hansen surprised. After that Chinchuan took Hansen to his place, especially in the battle room. Chinchuan also said that if Sen can beat him, then he will free Sen. But Sen says, how can I beat you? Your god blood gene point alone is almost 100. And also you have many high-tier soul beasts, and have military training in elite school. Neither of us will use soul beasts. If you can take my 50 hits without KO, I will consider all your mistakes to be nothing. All right, I think I will be able to withstand your 50 punches, said San confidently. Okay, you first. Hansen suddenly hit without further ado. Hey, you have no discipline regarding martial arts, he apologized. Damn, I'm too attacking because I want to finish the fight to get out of here quickly. After that, Qin Xuan said start, but haven't had time to finish his sentence another penny again. The chance to hit him doesn't come often, and now I have his chance. I can't seem to stop. Qin Xuan was so very angry and beat him. Hansen is battered. Hansen also realized that he was still weak and wanted to be much stronger again and again. Meanwhile, Qin Xuan was in the middle of taking a bath. After taking a shower, Qin Xuan looked at the recording of their fight earlier and realized that Sen had a very powerful punch. Even though his basic martial arts is not good, but it is as if he is like a killer. Is he disguising himself as a commoner? Yet he was only a little fly. Chances are he's a killer. Is this a sign that he has natural talent? Apart from that, his character is very despicable. I will never let go. Sen, who wants to learn a devil's lair martial art, because he had heard from his father that a devil's martial art is very effective against women and will challenge with this martial art. Hansen also saw the devil's martial art from the old man. Seeing that Sen was just dumbfounded, if I use this, maybe Qin Xuan will find me even more lecherous than before. However, because Sen had already spent a lot of money on this martial art, he still learned it. After a few days of learning the martial art of Devil's Nest, Sen felt that he was about to become a perverted old man. But I hope it will be useful in the future. After that, Sen saw the copper-toothed beast evolve again. Sen also hopes that this copper-toothed beast will evolve to the level of God's blood. Then we are shown Sen, who was already in a forest. He also took out a mutant-level beast soul that he had previously obtained. Hansen was surprised that the beast soul Qin Xuan gave him was so small. It was a cat beast soul. He also tried the cat beast to see if it could be used to fight. Then Sen ordered the cat to attack the three-horned scaly beast. The cat was eager to attack him, but unfortunately the cat bounced. Seeing that, Sen muttered, How come you're this weak and lose with just one hit, even though you're a soul beast level mutant? It's definitely playing me, and it definitely doesn't have any fighting skills. But it's so cute. Sen then thought, is this pet-type soul beast just for people to look at? Actually, at first I wanted him to help me to hunt. But in the end, I can only rely on myself. A few days later, Hansen was cooking the beast he had hunted, accompanied by a three-eyed cat who also wanted to eat. But Sen felt strange. According to him, most soul beasts don't need to eat. Usually if they are hungry or injured, they only need to be called back to the room to recover. But this little creature enjoyed its food even more than I did. Even though you can't help me in hunting, you still make me happy, so from now on I will call you Meow. I have maxed out my primitive genes, so everything has gone smoothly, San said happily. Suddenly a voice called for help. That person seemed to be being chased by a group of beasts, but Sen actually also ran away. Please don't run away. If you save me any amount of money you want, I will give you. Then you must stay alive. Hansen climbed up the mountain cliff to save himself. Then the person who asked for help earlier asked Sen to pull him too. As a result, they also managed to survive. Thank you. You saved me, he said. We're safe for now, but we can't get back down until the beasts are gone. What crazy action did you make that the beasts tried to kill you? I traveled for so long, and all my soul beasts were destroyed. I also almost starved to death. After that I found this beast. It's very expensive, so this person is most likely of high status will definitely pay a heavy price. So what should I call you? He asked. My name is Hansen. Just call me Sen. Then the person Hansen rescued introduced himself named Lin, from the Glory Shelter. Lin asked how far the Glory Shelter was from here. Sen replied that the Steel Armor Shelter was 10 days from here on foot. But as for Glory Shelter, I don't know where it is. Hearing that, Lin was surprised that he was far away from the shelter. Then he also told Hansen that if he later returned to the shelter, he would get back at Booty. For saving his life, any amount of money Hansen wants, he will give. That would be great, but before that we have to be friendly to each other. Of course. But Sen, do you have any food or drink? Because I'm really hungry, asked Lin. That glass of water. And a piece of meat for 10,000 each, answered Pennies. Hearing that, Lin was surprised. Didn't you say earlier that we should be friends? You provide the money, and I provide the food. Doesn't that mean friendship? Sen said casually. That's true, but can you add a little more food? Later when I return to the shelter, I will return 3, not 4 times to you. A few days passed. The beasts never left. Seeing the situation, Sen wants to go to the other side of the mountain. Because according to Sen, if they don't act, and also the leftover food starts to run out, they might starve to death. Then Sen started climbing and told Lin that he should wait for her here. Lin also said that Sen had to be careful and that no matter what happened, he could not leave him. Sen climbed up using his demon lair martial art. Hansen didn't expect that he would use it first to climb the mountain cliff instead of Qinshuan Mountain. But according to Hansen, this is very exciting. After that, Hansen was surprised to see an egg so big. What kind of beast put it here? Could it be that this egg has god-level blood? Hansen didn't think much anymore, and immediately drank the liquid egg. According to Sen's guess, it turns out that the egg is indeed the level of God's blood. He also continued to drink the liquid from the egg before the mother beast came. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the beasts finally left. Finally, they went too. From now on, I won't bother them again in the future, even though I'm very hungry, said Lin. Then the penny was back. Seeing that, Lin asked why Sen was taking so long and also why did your stomach look so pregnant? I found God blood level up there and I left this for you, Sen replied. Lin didn't ask much more and drank it straight away. How can I not lie to you, right? But it's a pity you didn't get God's blood game points, Hansen said. He is also very grateful that Sen wants to share his extraordinary findings. Lin never tires of saying that he will repay booty from Hansen. Whatever it is, whether it's about money or something else, you can ask for help at any time, Lin said. Hearing that, Hansen also said that his reputation in the shelter was very bad. It would be better if you stay away from me, said Sen. But Lin said that if someone dared to do something disrespectful to Sen, then Lin would retaliate and show disrespect to them as well. All right, let's just go home first. This guy is really innocent. She can be a good friend. Hansen was already at the connecting station. Hansen also felt very happy to have gotten game points from the gods from eggs. But suddenly, he had been awaited by Qinshuan. Oh, Captain, what a coincidence. Damn, is he going to bother me again? Then Qinshuan ordered Sen to follow him. Not afraid to be invited anywhere, Sen followed him. After that, they were in the middle of the battle room. It turned out that Qinshuan was inviting another fight. I've reached the highest level of the devil, so I won't lose so easily this time. Qinshuan suddenly attacked without warning. Team Captain, why don't you say start? I've learned that from you. Isn't that a trick you like? Qinshuan replied while attacking Hansen. But Hansen can avoid it. Then Sen also got a chance to attack and use his demon lair martial art. Hansen also slammed down in an extremely embarrassing pose, causing him to scream, Captain, does this count as my victory? This devil is really amazing to fight women. Qinshuan was so furious that Hansen was embarrassed. He took out his soul beast in the form of a lion and attacked. Hey, didn't you say you can't use beast souls? Finally, Penny lost again. I thought I would get stronger, but it turns out I'm still weak in terms of overall strength. Think about the time he slammed me and locked my legs just now. That made me startled and released my soul beast in a rage. Looks like he's gotten even stronger. Had he been pretending to be weak all this time? He made me lose face, so I hit him a bit. A few days later, Sen continued to practice sparring. Hansen was also grateful that thanks to that, he was able to train his fighting skills so that they would improve even more. Moreover, getting a chance to be able to practice sparring with beautiful and strongest women in steel armor, Sen thought. After that, Sen left, felt his whole body ache. That woman is not gentle at all. But suddenly someone called Sen. Long time no see. Why are you here? It turns out that it is his childhood friend who is also legal and can go to God's shrine. Suddenly a car flew toward them. Sister, didn't you say you could use a moving unit in our house? If you go to a place like this Link Station, you can get harassed by people. Brother, don't misunderstand. He is my childhood friend, Hansen, his name is. Hello? Sen said with the intention of introducing himself. But Sue's brother said that this Hansen was not worthy to be friends with his sister, and never bothered his sister again. If he sees Penny again, then he won't be friendly. Just heard that and said, Are you threatening me? Don't you accept? Then I'll show you what I mean. He immediately attacked Sen, but Hansen easily avoided it. Then Hansen was back to attack and slam him. Seeing that, Su said, "Stop! Calm down, Shui. Your brother has a sturdy body, so he's fine. I only greet men. Oh yeah, I have to go first because it's almost night, so I have to go home. When we meet again, let's eat together," Sen said as he left. Hearing that, Su's brother also wanted to plan something and said, "Little brother, invite him to have lunch together at our house someday." Hansen was already at his house. He also found that there was an offer of escort who paid quite well. The requirement was only to have the ability to eradicate 10 beast-level inventor. Without thinking any longer, this Hansen also registered himself. Then Hansen prepared himself and wanted to buy a weapon, because his old weapon was broken. While searching online stores, Hansen also found a beast arrow weapon which he thought was so extraordinary. The weapon is called Soul of Calinity from the Dark Knight series and has a range of 800 meters. It can also penetrate steel armor within 300 meters. But according to guild standards, the power to draw the bow must be rated 7 with Kyoku's skin ability. I'll probably make it to that mark, and I'll probably get to an 8. But the thing is, I only have 1,000,000 to buy. Does he want to sell it? He thought while bidding. But no reply from the seller. Putting 1,000,000 to buy a gun like that is really ridiculous. But suddenly the message notification sounded, and how surprised Hansen was that the seller agreed to sell for 1,000,000. My luck is amazing. The next day the arrows Hansen bought came. Then Hansen also wanted to try it. Hansen also felt that this bow was extraordinary and in the future would not take the risk of close quarters again, if later he would take a soul beast of god-level blood from Tianzi. 3 days later, Hansen went to a place. Sen thought he had bought 20 metal arrows with electric attributes and shooter attributes, and also had 6 real arrows he thought would be enough to use. After that, Sen had arrived at the place. Apparently a lot of people who registered because these requirements are so easy. Seeing that Hansen thought that if I knew there were so many people like this, I wouldn't come. Then there's someone who says hello. "Senyo, aren't you the butt maniac? Your outfit is so cool with that bow and all those arrows. Are you here for the young master's security position?" "Ha, maybe the young master will escort him." There too we can see Sen's cousin. Then the young master greets Sen and wants Sen to also be his bodyguard. The young master insisted on becoming his bodyguard as well, and gave up the contract. Sen also signed it. They all set out to hunt primitive level beasts. In the forest, they also hunt. Meanwhile, Sen tries his bow, and it turns out that Sen has not fully mastered the bow. According to Hansen, he would need to increase his strength a little more in order to master this bow. Before then, he also taunted Hansen that Penny would be a burden to the young master. Hearing that, Sen only replied that he was practicing. "By your standards, then, you would just embarrass yourself." Then his cousin came over and said that, "Don't tell anyone that he knows him." After that, they were all in the rocky hill. There they fight primitive grade black spot beasts. They also managed to beat him. The young master's friend was very happy. But suddenly the black spot beast that turned out to be pretending to be dead attacked his young master's friend. Sen's cousin was silent. But it's different from Penny, who swiftly he shot his arrow and managed to kill the black spot beast. Seeing that one of the group, Sen's cousin, said, "Why did Sen shoot his arrows? Young Master Qin almost got hurt." "Go!" shouted young Master Yuan. "Young Master Yuan told you to leave. I ask you to go, not him," said the young master, who was angry that only Hansen made a move to save his friend. Looking at young Master Iwan, "You can tell us to leave, but in his contract it's a violation. You have to pay the rest of the money." Hearing that, young Master Iwan immediately threw the money and paid the rest. "Here, take it. Go, useless trash group." In his contract, his name says Hansen, and the bow he carries is sold of Carimity from the Dark Knight series. At least the power value is 7, in order to be able to pull the bow. But seeing Sen can accurately use only one attack, maybe his strength is up to 8. "Brothers, let's be friends. Perhaps in the future I will trouble you a lot to help me," said young Master Yuan.
Young Master Yuan is such a simple person. From the start you hired me, you must have known bows so rich but have sharp eyes. The bow is so rare, you might not even be able to get it even if you wish for it. The next day, Sen was confronted by the head of Sen's cousin group named Liu Peng, and said finally, "The butt maniac is back and making us less money." It irritated me, but Sen quickly dodged him, as if he had disappeared. Then Sen held onto Yunfeng's hand and took his dagger, continuing to slam it. Seeing that his cousin Sen and people were surprised to see him, that Liupeng was easily defeated. He also ordered his men to attack, but Sen attacked back using the dagger that was taken, and it turned out that the dagger contained an alloy of alpha metals, and the price could reach 1 million or more.
This dagger is useless also in your hands, so I will take this, Hansen said. Then about to leave, "Stop there," said someone who turned out to be Lua. "Who gave you courage? How dare you touch my subordinates?" He complained that he was being bullied. He had embarrassed himself. Dulu even made calculations with Hansen and attacked using his whip, but Sen can fend it off. I heard that his physique has reached 90%. Seeing his attacks makes the thought of the butt maniac stronger. Nor would he let Penny live, but Sen ready with his bow to attack. But suddenly Qinxuan came to stop the fight. "This ass maniac is being rude to you and disrespectful to you. He also attacked me, so I won't let him live. I will teach my people well. I don't need outsiders to interfere. Let's go." People who saw that also gossiped. Did Qinxuan just say that the buttocks maniac was the one? So he prefers that kind of person? So she loved being poked, and is now in love with him? After Qinxuan stopped Hansen's fight with Luo Yang, she took him away from them. By now, Qinxuan and Hansen were in Qinxuan's military quarters, and they began to discuss things. With her military demeanor, Qinxuan invited Hansen to join her army, the God's Shooting Squad. This is because, according to Qinxuan, Hansen has very great strength because he can draw a bow. So the possibility for Hansen to hone his skills to be even better is very large. Not only out, she also mentioned her service in helping Hansen earlier. If not under the protection of Qinxuan, then Luo, who would never let go of the penny just like that. "Follow me. You will get many benefits later when you enroll in the military academy." But this Hansen refused and was very appreciative of Jean's offer. I said that he was confident in his current self. Then he said, "And also, who said I would enroll in the military academy? My physical form also hasn't reached level 10, so I'm not eligible," said Sen. Hearing that, Qinxuan also said that the requirements were difficult for ordinary people. But for Sen it was nothing. According to Qinxuan, Sen did look like a side character, but had abilities. The most important thing is that Qinxuan can recruit talented people. Sen was silent for a moment, then he said, "This is about the past that I have done to you, when I stabbed your ass. Aren't you angry?" "Don't ever discuss that matter again," replied Qinxuan, who was very upset to hear it. "If you don't enroll into the military academy without a noble title, wait until conscription. You will become a common soldier and become frontline fodder." "How do you know I can't get a noble title?" said Sen. "If I continue to use the techniques I have using crystals to obtain a higher level, then I will obtain a noble title. I think that's within my reach." Seeing that Sen was thinking about something, she said, "I told you that you can't get the title of noble, so that means you won't get it." "Want to give it a try?" Qinxuan asked irritably. "All right, I'll join the God's Shooting Group," Hansen replied. He also understood that Qinxuan had connections in the military, so Hansen didn't want to make his life difficult and hard in the future. After that, Sen was already in his house. While lying down, Sen felt that he had not rested for several days. He tried to close his eyes but could not sleep. Then Hansen thought about Qinxuan, who was in a hurry to invite him to join the God's Shooting Group. Did she want to plan something? Suddenly someone knocked on the door of his room. Sen opened the door. It turned out to be Sen's mother. His mother also asked for help so that tomorrow Sen would take his younger sister to school, because his mother was busy. She has some business to attend to tomorrow. "Yes, Mom. So where does my sister go to school?" asked Sen. "Lately you have been busy, so I haven't had time to tell you. The money you left at that time can only send her to Manhwa," her mother replied. Hearing that Sen was very happy because, according to Hansen, it was better rather than attending a noble school. So the mother just went ahead and finished the business. The problem of the younger sister that Sen would drive her. The next day, Hansen went to drop off his sister. As a good brother, he also asked, did his sister already have friends in the school environment? "Not yet. I'm still shy to talk to my classmates," his sister replied. "It's okay. Be honest and slowly get along with others. You can do it. If someone does something bad to you, remember you have to tell Big Brother," said Hansen, while stroking his sister's head. After that, they arrived at the Manhwa school. There Sen saw his uncle. Younger sister also asked who was the child carried by uncle, and also the aunt beside him. Do you know him? I don't know either. But I found something interesting, replied Hansen. What are you doing here? Asked Uncle Sen. I'm taking my sister to school, replied Sen. Hearing that, this asshole uncle also accused that as long as Sen's father occupied the company, he must have saved a lot of money. The proof can send her to school, which he knows that the cost is quite expensive. His uncle also asked for the money to be divided, because he thought it was family money. Hearing his uncle's accusation, Sen said, Did you not read the contract? It is clearly written that 2 million has been paid and you cannot get any more money from my family. It is a fraud. It does not count. I will go see your mother later, his uncle said. I have the right to kill an offender, said Sen casually. Hearing that, his asshole uncle attacked, but Hansen easily counterattacked and slammed him. Sorry, asshole uncle. Uncle, if you want to die, just try to come to my family. His sister, who saw it, was amazed to see her brother was very cool and also a little scared. The wife and mistress of the uncle also ran away to report the incident of the woman. Beautiful auntie and her little boy is also cute. If auntie sees it, what do you think he will do, uncle? Sen said that it turned out that he had recorded all their conversations earlier. Did you record everything? Bastard, quickly delete it, said his uncle. We are family. Everything can be discussed. If uncle gives me 2 million, I can delete it, said Sen, while holding his uncle's hand firmly and smiling satisfied. Sen got the 2 million and said he would write it off depending on his mood. Don't ever come to my family again and cause trouble or I'll make you pay for it, Sen said, as he left his uncle. His uncle realized that Sen had become stronger. The Sen of old was not the Hansen of today. After that, Sen, who had escorted his sister, thought, in the future he would not show violence again in front of his favorite sister. Then Sen walked and saw the physical test center building. He was curious to see if his strength increased, because so far he had practiced several times. Sen went to the physical test center building and tried his strength. Meanwhile, there were people who also wanted to try their strength. But the facility was being used by Hansen. The person also noticed that Hansen was fighting a robot, which he thought would be difficult even though he had used the soul of the beast, because the robot round was very difficult. But Sen had mounted his stance and attacked the robot with his beast and completed the test with a triple S score with a time of 7.88 seconds. After that, Sen immediately left. People talked a lot about Hansen's greatness, and without Sen's knowledge, the video of him defeating the robot by scoring a triple S with a time of 7.88 seconds was widely spread and went viral. People realized that it was the coin. Meanwhile, at the seaside mansion, there were 2 young men named Tang and Fang. The 2 of them were also talking about Hansen. According to Tang, that Hansen, in addition to his god gene, the other genes probably almost all reached the maximum point, and the soul beast he used was also God's blood level. So who is he really, when I've been waiting for the people to go to the second God sanctuary? If he dares to prevent me from participating in the war of the top 10, to determine who is elected this year, then I must get rid of him. Hearing that, Peng said, with a neighbor like that, maybe he has a relationship with the military. So do you think he is someone you can offend? Asked the tank. He was overcome with anger and said, That's so, don't take it seriously, Tank replied. He was also very curious about Hansen's identity, because he thought that with such power, the beast he had could affect all the sanctuaries. After that, 2 days passed. Hansen was walking to a place. On the way, he remembered the order that Sen should officially report to Yang, that Sen had entered the God's shooting group. Meanwhile, Tinshuan was going to the Universe Star Organization to talk about the cooperation of the Universe Star Organization. Isn't their young master a Tianji? So you understand why I made you join the God's shooting group? To put you under my protection. So he would never dare to touch you, she said. Captain, maybe you are really kind. In his mind, it is right to do that to protect him, but don't tell me she likes me. Then confidently again, Hansen concluded, Yes, I am a person with the soul of a beast of the level of a god, and also have the art of hypertension reaching 9. Hansen entered the room of the leader of the God's shooting group, who was so sexy, named Yang Manly. So you're Hansen, right? You're 10 seconds late. Huh. I'm not late on purpose, just now the team captain approached me, said Hansen. You were late, but you threw the problem to others? You deserve to be scolded, she said. Then she ordered Sen to fill out the form. Hansen started filling out the form while thinking, what the hell is this woman? Looks like she hates me and I don't even know her. The leader approached Hansen by sitting on the table. So how great are you at qualifying her? You're to the point that Qin Xuan wants to recruit you. How can I fill out the form if you sit like that? Hansen thought. His brain began to imagine. After that, Hansen had already filled out the form, and the leader said that tomorrow at 6 a.m., Sen must come on time to the training ground of the Gods shooting group, and also I hate people who are not on time, said the leader. Suddenly, Qin Xuan contacted the leader and ordered to go to her room and also invite Hansen. After that, they were in the middle of Qin Xuan's room. The three of them were watching a viral video about coins. Hansen realized that it was his video and was worried that his identity would be discovered. But Manly also asked if this coin had great destructive power, and was there someone who saw it? She replied that the person who took this video could not see the coin's face. Hearing that, Hansen was relieved that his identity was not discovered. From this video, we know that this coin has the soul of a beast and god level and has advanced martial arts knowledge. But more importantly, this video taken comes from the physical center of our planet. We need to find this person. He will be useful to us. It's hard to imagine a toy army that would be able to raise someone like him, but it's worth a try. If he joins, we won't have to work with other sects to cooperate in hunting down the divine blood level bus. But I heard that this coin works only alone, so it will be difficult to get him to join, said Hansen, pretending. But Qin Xuan said that if we fail to get the coin to join, we still have a plan to tease him. I don't mind. What I'm afraid of is that this coin is not man enough. No way. They are both very terrible. After that, Hansen went home. He saw that the copper tooth beast was about to evolve into God's blood level. Now I need to be patient and wait a few more days. The next day, he was at the God's shooter training ground. He also saw the Central Sultan's son practicing archery and greeted him. Hey, butt maniac, why do you know me? Hansen also realized that all this time he had interacted with the boy using the identity of Coin. Then Sen made an excuse that Sen knew he was the first to call Coin his brother Coin. So who doesn't know him? Am I famous? So by the way, why did you join the Gods shooting group? I don't know if this is true or not, but I think that using a bow at a long distance will not risk endangering lives when fighting. Hearing that, he agreed. But in this place you have to be careful with the leader. She is very sadistic. While they were gossiping about their leader, they were suddenly hit by her. Hey, what are you doing? She said. They were both given the punishment of shooting 1,000 arrows. Otherwise, they would be given further punishment. Hearing that, the Sultan's son panicked. How is this? I have just reached level 7, and even given this heavy punishment, he said. Hansen also said, calm down. The leader is not likely to watch us. She will leave, and also will not know how many arrows we throw. The leader will definitely send someone to watch us, and also if we don't hit the target, then it won't count. Hearing that, Sen also said, then we just start training. I, who have reached level 9, might easily draw a bow that has level 7, but he might have difficulty. But if he can get through this, he will definitely become stronger, Hansen thought. They both started archery. Meanwhile, the other groups were starting to go home. They were talking about tomorrow going on a divine blood level beast hunt. Hearing that, he asked one of the groups about tomorrow going on a beast hunt, and the others found a divine blood level beast. So they invited us to help them tomorrow. Hearing that, Sen thought that Qin Xuan met with the Universe Star Organization. That time must have been to discuss this matter. Enough pleasantries, you guys quickly continue your training, he said, which turned out to be one of the leaders of the Gods shooting group named Liu Hong, seeing that the Sultan's son approached him and also wanted to be invited to hunt and spend his money. But Liu Hong refused the money while saying, stop acting like this. You think the Gods shooting group is what Chairman Hong also approached Hansen. And also, you don't act arbitrarily, just because the station chief, namely Kim Swan, making an exception for you to join the Gods shooting group we do not accept, said Chairman Hong, who seemed to hate Hansen. Then Chairman Hong continued to say, "The leader who asked you to shoot 1,000 arrows with a bullseye, you can't go anywhere if you don't finish it." After that, Hansen started archery. Seeing that, the Sultan's son was surprised that Sen shot 40 arrows without missing a single one. Seeing that, people couldn't believe it. Is it really the ass? Is it possible he's been practicing secretly all this time? I'm a little impressed. Hurry up and practice. We have a time limit. If you can make it happen and successfully complete this, I will become your idol. Trust me, it will happen. At this pace, we will finish by midnight. No matter what happens, I won't miss the chance to hunt a divine blood-level beast, Hansen thought. Meanwhile, from a distance, the leader who was watching Sen and realized Hansen's prowess, and also that there was no mistake in taking people. But whether or not that can survive in this armor depends on him. The two of them also managed to finish it. Brother Sen, you are really amazing and kind. If only I were a woman, then I would fall in love, said Sue. Fortunately not yes. But by the way, we don't know the information about what god blood-level beast we are hunting tomorrow. Relax. I've got the information. Nothing is impossible with money. Apparently the Sultan's son got the information from his assistant leader. She said that the god-level beast was flying type, so it would be more difficult to hunt it. Sen was thinking of looking for a suitable arrow. After that, Sen was already in his house and was looking for arrows in online stores that he thought would be suitable against flying-type beasts. He also met a person who sold arrows. The arrows he sold also contained 1.2% metal element. It was said that this arrow was so strong. By the way, next time you want to find something, remember to look for me, said the seller. The next day, they all gathered at the steel armor gate. Since when did this scum join the gods' shooting group? Someone mocked Sen. Hello, do you have a bad memory? I told you he was my man. Say what you do. Don't make a scene. Just trash that usually hides behind a woman's back. They had all reached the blood god-level beast's lair. He said he would lure the beast out, and the rest of Tianzi and his troops would finish it. He also said that he would distribute to each leader of the god's shooter group 100 starlight arrows, each containing 1% steel element, to be distributed to his subordinates, but not to be distributed to Hansen. Hearing that, the leader asked, "Why just not give it? I'm the one who provided the arrows, so it's up to me who will use them. Okay, since you're in charge of the operation this time, we can only do what you say." The leader orders Chief Hong to distribute the arrows. It looks like this Tianzi really hates it and is going to bother him. He doesn't even give me respect. The expression on this bastard's face is so disgusting. I want to beat him to death. The leader ordered the elite troops to get ready on the spot. Hey, you non-elite guys, stay away. Hearing that, the Sultan's son was very upset, but Sen calmed him down. Sen's brother? Why aren't you upset and calm? Of course I'm upset. But we can't get carried away, so we'll just show them our skills. And if we're lucky, we can capture the beast's soul, Hansen replied. But Sue was cynical because the Tianzi troops were in an advantageous position. If the base comes out, their troops will shoot a lot of starlight arrows, while we only have ordinary arrows, Sue said. But suddenly there was a god's blood-level roar. Something flew. A god blood-level beast and purple scales appeared. The leader ordered his troops to attack. But what the hell? Starlight's arrows didn't work because the scales of the god blood-level beast were so hard, exceeding steel. Hansen didn't stay silent. He started taking arrows containing 1.2% metajet elements. Arrows containing this metajet will disappear after I shoot it, so I have to kill this beast in one attack, Hansen thought. Then the Sultan Su's son realized why Tianzi was directing so many troops. So he wanted to generate the beast's attention. Because the beast was starting to let his guard down, Tianzi did not waste the opportunity. He started attacking using his bow. God blood-level beast, you will be mine, said Tianzi while shooting his arrows. The god blood-level beast was injured, but his defense was still not broken. Seeing that, Hansen undid his intention to attack before the beast's defense was completely broken. But unlike this beautiful leader, she immediately attacked using the soul beast of her bow and shot her arrows. It is said that the soul beast arrows belonging to the leader and Tianzi can be reused. After that, the beast flew away. Tianzi also ordered his troops to chase. So did Hansen join the chase. Damn, I don't have a soul beast arrow that can be used repeatedly, and also I don't have a mount. Tianzi's troops must be able to catch up first. How can we chase using only our legs? What should we do? But suddenly there was a voice that was so soft calling Hansen, and it turned out to be Qin Xuan, who was riding her soul beast and invited Sen to come with her. Seeing that the Sultan's son also wanted to come, but Qin Xuan and Jerk heard the two of them immediately chased quickly. Not wasting the opportunity, this Hansen also held Qin Xuan's waist. Wow, slim too. Qin Xuan's Milichin beast soul armor is so extraordinary. Hey, don't look for opportunities to touch me anyway. I brought you because your archery skills are quite good, so it will be useful for us. Yes, I know that, station master. Isn't that because you like me? Otherwise I wouldn't dare. After that, Tianzi's troops had arrived at a mountain. Apparently the god's blood ticket beast was already at the top of the mountain. They could not do much. Instead, they wished they had a soul beast. They stopped to ask the leader about his situation, while Tianzi looked so upset that Hansen and Qin Xuan were riding the soul beast. Then Qin Xuan said that we must find a way to climb to the top of the mountain. If we can't, then the god will recover, and the chance of winning will be smaller. Tianzi also ordered some people to climb and lure the beast out. But the mountain was too steep. Many troops did not dare to climb it, because they would die. Even if they managed to climb, they would immediately be attacked by the beast. Then Tianji said, "We have come this far. Will you give up?" Then Tianji said, "We've come this far. Are you going to give up? For those of you who want to climb, I'll give you a set of meat later." Hearing that the troops were tempted by Tianji's offer because it could increase their god's blood game points. But in Sen's mind, he knew that this was his cunning trick, like when hunting beasts. He could sacrifice someone's life to get the things he wanted. All right, we'll use that plan. Whoever wants more meat of the god-level blood beast, follow me and go up right now. Hearing that, Tianji instead suggested the agent just wait. I don't want to wait. Waiting is boring. Suddenly he ordered to protect Qin Xuan. I won't let you die when you get to the top. They started to climb. Suddenly the beast appeared to Hansen with its wounded wings. Then the blood god beast attacked and ate one of the troops. Seeing that, Qin Xuan ordered to find a place to hide and then shoot arrows at the beast. Meanwhile, Hansen realized that the middle beast was seriously injured and waited for the right moment to shoot his arrow. Suddenly Sen noticed someone approaching, and it turned out to be Tianzi. While using the soul of the beast, he was ready to attack Hansen, made a crude flashlight, and plunged from the top of the mountain. Fortunately, Sen still had time to hold the rope and managed to survive. Fortunately, my physique has improved. Otherwise, my bones would be destroyed. That damn Tianzi tried to kill me. But I will live, Hansen thought while climbing up. Tianzi with his gorilla beast soul and Qin Xuan with his golden lion surrounded the beast wife. Seeing that, Sen waited for the opportunity to attack. At the right moment, then Qin Xuan and Tianjin began to attack the beast. Seeing the beast almost dead, Qin Xuan returned to her normal form, and then attacked together using their respective weapons. Qin Xuan used her dagger, while Tianzi with his sword. But the beast still had the power to make Qin Xuan and Tianji bounce. The beast wanted to fly away again, but Hansen realized it and didn't want to waste the opportunity this time, as well as Tianzi, who got up and took out his soul beast bow and shot his arrows. Seeing the right moment, Sen also shot his arrows. Their arrows shot at the god-level beast. The purple blood and scales level beast was defeated. Seeing that people did not expect the butt maniac to defeat him, Tianji realized that Hansen's arrow hit him first. Tianji was angry and immediately questioned Sen. Did you get the soul of the god's blood-level beast? Asked Tianzi. I also wanted a soul beast, but my luck was bad, replied Sen with an innocent face. In Qin Xuan's room, there Qin Xuan questioned Sen and told him that San actually got the soul of the god's blood-level beast, right? Because according to the rules, whoever kills the beast, then the person who kills it will get the soul of the beast. If you get it, just tell me how much it is. Say it. Then Hansen said that he didn't get it. If there is a chance to make money, why would I give up on it? At that time I panicked and was afraid that the beast would fly away. If I didn't shoot it, then people's efforts would be in vain, said Hansen. Hearing that, Qin Xuan also believed it because in her opinion getting the soul of a god's blood-level beast was not easy. Well, forget about it. These few weeks you don't wander around carelessly, otherwise Tianzi will kill you. So don't say I never warned you, yes. Well, I understand. Sen then thought, today if we don't stop it, then I'm dead. After that, Sen returned to his house and Hansen was now taking a bath. In the bath, he laughed because he got the soul of the beast, and not many people had it. I will become very rich. It turns out that Hansen is just pretending not to get it. After finishing bathing, Sen also saw the copper tooth beast had evolved into the blood level of God. 3 months of using the crystal, I was able to turn it into God's blood level, Hansen said. Qin Xuan for several years has not been able to maximize her God's blood gene points. But according to his calculations, he can maximize it in 5 years and will be able to enter the second God sanctuary. Hansen also wanted to slaughter a God blood level copper tooth beast and would cook it, then buy another primitive level beast to raise. Hansen also ate the meat of the copper tooth beast with gusto. His God's blood game points rose to 25. After that, Hansen also wanted to find beast soul arrows because he thought it was very expensive to use metal jet arrows. Then Hansen also searched the internet and found a person's post about the Dark Swamp, which basically said that there was a black bee beast. If you defeat it, you will get a poisonous beast soul arrow. The post also said that there was a mutant-level black beast. Seeing that Sen was very happy, because according to him, if he got it, he would become an archer god. But in this post it never said the location. But if I go there without preparation, it will be dangerous. Never mind, it's not the time for me to think about that. For now I think about what I can currently do. Hansen was already at the arrow seller's place at that time. Sen also asked the seller, "Hello, sir. Are all these weapons made by you?" The seller said yes. Then said that he did not expect Hansen to use his arrows at that time. Because of that, the seller considered Hansen a regular customer. He also wanted to give Hansen something better than the arrows at that time. He also took out a dagger with a 5% Bajaj metal element content, and the price was 300,000. Wow, the price is the same as the arrow at that time. The steel metal content is more. I will buy it. Then Hansen asked the seller, "Boss, your place is full of weapons, but why is this the only one you put on the wall? Is this sword very special?" The seller also replied that the sword contains 75% steel metal element. "Give me 100 million, and I will sell it to you." Hearing that, Hansen could not believe that there was a sword that contains so much steel metal, and Hansen thought the seller was just kidding. "If you can't buy it, get out of here," said the seller, annoyed at Hansen for thinking he was joking. It is impossible with the technology of this era to make weapons exceeding 5% of the steel metal element. Hansen still seemed to disbelieve. Suddenly, Hansen's cell phone rang. Apparently his friend tomorrow invited him to meet at twilight at 4 p.m., who said he wanted to show something to Hansen. "What do you want to show?" asked Sen to his friend. "Relax. If the thing I show you is not exciting, I will treat you to a meal," replied Hang. There was also apparently his cousin Seng, and he greeted Seng. "Hi, brother Sen, come too," he said. "Oh, you're here too, huh? Strange why he suddenly called me brother," thought Hansen. After that, Han also showed what he wanted to show. Mutant-level soul beast in the form of a dagger. "Wow, that's really cool, the power of the new beast weapon, and also not weak," said Sen. "Of course, it also has a name." "It's called the Snow Tiger Dagger," said Han. "It's okay, it sounds dominating and may even be able to defeat mutant-level soul beasts. Just enviable. Since I already have the Snow Tiger Dagger, so my old weapon will never be used again. So you take this. It's a broadsword, and it's not cheap either." "I can't take it." "Come on, we are brothers and I will never use it again even if I keep it, so take it." "Well, you're right too. Having a sense of brotherhood is fun, huh? Maybe later I will return the favor. And also the sword that time was destroyed while testing the arrows I bought. So this gift came just in time." His cousin Sang, who saw their relationship was so close, he also wanted to build a relationship with them. Although he thinks Sen is only dependent on Qin Xuan, and it is very embarrassing. Maybe I can also get into his group in steel armor. Then I will not mind, thought Sen's cousin. When Sen's cousin named Han wanted to approach Hansen and wanted to give something, suddenly his mother came and scolded him for hanging out with such people, and his mother also ordered her son to attend my master's banquet and his elite friends. "You should be friends with them," his mother said. "He said there's a young master of the Senjong company named Lin. I heard he's in the steel armor sanctuary." "Go see him," said his mother. Hearing that, he also realized that the young master of the Senjong company was a very rich man. This is a good opportunity if I make friends. While leaving Sen and Hang. He was already big, so he was still controlled by his mother. but I was a little annoyed with his mother who looked down on us. While Sen was thinking about the name his aunt said, it felt like I had seen that name before somewhere. At the banquet, there is young Mr. Lin, being approached by girls who want to get to know him better, by asking Mr. Lin to leave his contact number so they can hook up. Here we also learn that this young Master Lin by Feng is the one who was saved by Hansen when he was chased by a horde of beasts. The people there also talked about Mr. Lin's family who once bought a trash planet, but instead the planet contained rare minerals and became rich overnight and was also one of the largest mineral organizations, as well as making people jealous. One of the people there also said maybe his ancestors had done good things in the past, so his family was so lucky. After that, his son approached Mr. Bin, and Hao's mother introduced her son to Mr. Lin, while saying that since Mr. Lin was also in the armor sanctuary, if you are looking for something, just ask her son, because her son knows a lot about the armor area. Oh, then I want to find someone, said Mr. Lin. Suddenly Hao's mother saw Sen and Hang also at the banquet. It seems that this Hansen and his friend are looking for good food while it is free. Then Ho's mother asked permission from Mr. Lin, who said he wanted to handle a few things. So Mr. Lin just chat with my son. Just now you want to find someone? My son will definitely help you, said his mother while leaving. It turns out that she approached Hansen and dragged him, then said that he didn't deserve to be at this banquet, and also I've been with from my son that your reputation is very bad in this armor. This is making trouble for her, and also once stabbed Qin Xuan's ass. Huh? Do you think you will find people who will support you here? Hearing that, Sen was very upset. Wherever I want to go, it's none of your business, and also I have nothing to do with you guys. Hearing that there was a commotion, Mr. Lin wanted to see, and what a surprise Mr. Lin saw Hansen. Brother Sen, it's really you, right? I miss you so much, said Mr. Lin while hugging the confused Hansen. Then Mr. Lin also said that Brother Sen was his helper and had saved his life. After I heard that Brother Sen was in the Armor Steel Sanctuary, I immediately came here. Huh. He saved young Master Wax? Did he used to do good too? Meanwhile, Ho and his mother also did not expect that Sen had saved young Master Lin. But Hansen did not want to make himself the center of attention at the banquet, and also did not fit in with him. Sen also told Master Lin that if you want to talk about something, then we can meet next time. So I will leave first. Brother Sen, where are you going? My flying vehicle is outside. Let me take you, he said. But Hansen politely declined Mr. Lin's offer. Mr. Lin also understood and said, Brother Sen, in the future we will meet often. I will follow you. The people who saw that were wondering, who exactly is this Hansen? Who is so respected by young Master Lin? They had never heard the name Hansen among the nobles. But they think this is definitely not a random person. Hansen, today you're in the spotlight, so you have to tell us how you saved young Master Lin, Hang said, while Ho and his mother were so upset that Hansen got such a rich patron. Damn, you think he's just up to being dependent on women? Now he's getting another patron? That makes me so upset. After Sen recounted the incident when he saved young Master Lin to Han, Sen thought and did not expect to meet Lin, and also did not expect that he was very rich. When Sen was walking in the middle of the city, suddenly an explosion occurred. The people there looked panicked, but unlike Hansen, who went straight to the scene. Hansen also guessed that he was not mistaken. The fireball was a flying vehicle. The type of ball, according to him, this type of vehicle is only owned by a certain figure. It is said that in the beginning there was a figure of the only enemy of mankind. Their appearance was also similar to masks, and horns were their hallmark. Mankind has been fighting them in space for centuries. At first, because of physical superiority, mankind constantly lost the fight against them. But about 200 years ago, mankind found the God Sanctuary and got gene points in another world. So humanity's physique improved drastically bit by bit. Humanity was able to compete and face them. After that, Hansen had arrived at a building where the explosion occurred. There was also a flying vehicle in the form of a ball. There was also a child who was crying for help. I don't know why she was there, but suddenly in the flying vehicle in the form of a ball appeared. A creature that Hansen had guessed, namely the Sura race. But Sen was surprised to see him because this Sura had golden horns. That meant he was a nobleman. The creature also saw that there were children who were crying. He immediately wanted to cut her down. Hansen did not think anymore. He immediately darted to save her using his latest beast soul and flew away. While in the distance there was a journalist who was covering named Feng. Meanwhile, from a distance there is a journalist who was covering named Feng. Sen managed to save the child, and also managed to fend off the attack of the creature of noble status. Reporter Quan, who saw it, realized that it was a coin, which had saved the child. Finally, I got the news. I'm sure this news will be the main topic tomorrow, and think that the sword used by the voice can penetrate his armor. Hansen unexpectedly moved very fast and attacked, but Hansen was able to avoid running away to one of the buildings. After landing, he also told the child he saved to find a place to hide. But Sen realized that the building also turned out to be many children, but this creature also jumped to attack. Hansen was unable to avoid because there were many children there. Hansen was hit by a blow from his sword. Journalist Quan, who was filming, did not expect why he did not avoid the attack. He thought that with his current abilities, he would be able to avoid it. If so, he would not be able to last long, because he was equivalent to the evolutionary level. Is it wrong for me to show this? If he is killed then, said the reporter. Sen continued to be attacked by the golden horned Sura. He will also definitely kill all the people here. Then Sen also attacked back. Hansen also jumped at a very high speed, making the golden sparkle immediately knocked out the golden horned Sura. Seeing that the reporter Quan rushed to the scene at once wanted to record. But he was surprised that the golden horned Sura after dying covered in blood. After that, he was looking for where Sen was. But like he had disappeared without the slightest trace. Then the reporter filmed to the top of the building. It turned out that many children were there and realized why at that time Hansen did not avoid the attack of the golden horned Sura. It was to protect the children. Indeed, a real man. At night, the video of his fight versus the golden horned Sura of Central spread. Meanwhile, Sen had been in his room Central treating his wounds with bandages. He was thinking, if only lately his god's blood gene points had not increased, then surely he would have lost, and he also couldn't think of anyone recording his fight. Fortunately, after defeating the golden fighting Sura, he left immediately. So the possibility of his identity was not discovered. Fortunately, also Hansen was only slightly injured by the golden horned voice. Otherwise maybe Hansen would have been seriously injured and did not get the Sura sword, which according to Sen was of very good quality than human-made. Maybe their race's technology is more advanced. Then according to Hansen again, if he uses this sword, maybe people will recognize him because people must know this is the sword used by Sura. He also wanted to modify it by using a scabbard and changing the color. After messing around, suddenly the sword broke in part. Hansen also thought that the sword was broken, but it turned out that there was a chip stored there. Without further ado, Hansen immediately checked it, and it turned out that the chip contained a sword technique from the Sura race. From his explanation, his physical body could learn this technique. After that, Sen learned it. I'm very lucky. Then suddenly, Hansen got a call from young Master Lin. Young Master Lin wanted to talk about something. He wanted Hansen to bring him big game. But Hansen said that he had been very busy lately. But I have big plans, so wait for the time to come. Hansen was already at Qin Shuan's place, and there Sen revealed that he didn't want to go to military school. He just wanted to go to a local military school. Hearing that, Qin Shuan looked puzzled and said, Sen, are you stupid or moron? Black Eagle Military School is in the top 50 schools, while Roka School can't even get into the top 1,000. Why do you want to go to a school like that? She then explained that Sen goes to the Black Eagle School and will get many benefits, and the design also has many great teachers who can teach great martial arts. And also, after you graduate, you can get a special place, because every year the Black Eagle Military School has special data for those who have archery skills. So with my recommendation and archery skills, you will definitely get many opportunities. Sen thought that Qin Shuan's words were true, but the Black Eagle Military School was not on the planet Roka. Hansen thought it was very far from his family. So who will take care of his mother and sister here? But Qin Shuan, who has not known Hansen's reasoning, thinks, if trash wants to remain trash, let it go. This opportunity is not everyone can get it. He has also finished analyzing the viral video data. Sen was very upset with the person who recorded it, and wanted to catch him and beat him up. Qin Xuan asked young Manli what she saw of his fight. Yang replied that he was stupid. Sen was surprised to hear that and thought she knew I was stupid. Does this woman hate cool guys so much? Yang explained that this power should be top tier in this first god's sanctuary. With that kind of power, he should have used long-range methods. But instead, he fought directly. That's so stupid. Perhaps justifying it, if only he hadn't been injured in the first place, then he would have died. Hearing the explanation of the two beautiful women, Sen was speechless, because their explanation was very accurate. This is the second time he has been caught on camera, previously in the physical room. So who exactly is this guy? Supposed to be at the divine blood level, and he has never used a crossbow either. He seems very different from this guy who doesn't want to move forward, Qin Xuan said, while insinuating Hansen. Hearing that, Sen said of course he can't be compared to the guy in the video. After that, Qin Xuan invited him to leave, but Sen should consider entering the Black Eagle military school. So don't let me down, he expressed. Then Hansen left Qin Xuan's place and he thought Qin Xuan was very eager to enter the Black Eagle military school. It was very troublesome. And also I haven't reached the age of 20 to enter the academy and conscription. If I am sent to the Black Eagle, then it should be after I leave enough money and resources for my mother and sister, so they don't have to worry about living conditions. After that, Sen called young Master Lin and asked for 2 budget metal arrows with 5% content that Hansen had talked about in the past. So please send someone to send the arrows, so they don't have to worry about living conditions. After that, Sen called young Master Lin and asked for the 2 metal budget arrows with 5% content that Hansen had talked about. So please send someone to send the arrows. Do you really only need 2 arrows? Our family is in cooperation with a steel metal manufacturer in the Star Universe, so Brother Hansen should take more. Won't Brother Hansen consider taking me? I will definitely help and won't be a burden, said young Master Li. That place is really dangerous. Your identity is also unique, so don't take any risks, and also I only need 2 arrows. If I'm lucky, I will bring you mutant-level music as a reward, said Sen. He began his journey to the dark swamp that he had seen in the internet post. 2 days passed. He arrived at the place where the dark swamp was said to be a paradise for beasts. But it was said that the place was very dangerous. I don't care how dangerous it is. It can't stop me from getting stronger. After that, Hansen entered the dark swamp. There were many beasts that were bigger than usual. Hansen was hunting, but he was hunting only suitable for him. Then Sen also used his beast soul while shooting arrows. But because Sen had only 2 arrows, he used a thread and hooked a string to his arrow. The mutant-level ghost-tooth snake was defeated, while Sen pulled the arrow that he had hooked with the string. After that, Sen hunted mutant-level fish using his arrow again. Then the mutant-level fish was easily defeated. He felt so happy to get a mutant-level beast again because he thought this dark swamp was his dream paradise. After that, Hansen began to cook his hunted beast, and then ate it, accompanied by his cat's pet beast who also ate. Then Sen also tried the Todak fish soul beast, which is a spear type, which is very good. After all, the soul beast weapon is very easy to carry and does not need to be repaired unless it is completely destroyed. But Sen realized that someone was coming. Hi, this is yours, right? I want to trade it, said the boy riding the flying beast. I won't trade it, replied Sen. But suddenly this boy immediately ate Hansen's food. His mutant gen points went up by 1. The boy was so happy that he threatened Hansen to exchange it. Otherwise Hansen would become dinner for his bird. Hansen said, I told you I won't exchange it. This boy is very arrogant. I have to buy a little lesson a little. Suddenly the boy attacked the penny with his dagger, but did not make the penny the slightest scratch. Hey boy, before you want to attack someone, first recognize your abilities, shouted Sen, while attacking using his spear and making the boy's dagger broken. Sen continued to attack him and made the boy's face hurt. Damn my handsome face, said the boy. You will pay for what you have done today, boy. The boy ran away using his mutant-level steel bird, but Hansen used his flying-type soul beast to chase. Seeing Hansen, who was so quickly chasing him, the boy suspected that Hansen had a god-blood-level soul beast. You are right, boy. I will reward you, he said, while stabbing the boy's buttocks using his spear. I will stab your buttocks once again, said Hansen. Geez, big brother, if you stab me once again, then my butt is not like the beginning anymore. I give up. Let me go, said the boy. After that, Sen said that the boy's life was in his hands, so he had to give valuable clues and information, such as where the playground had mutant-level bees. Mutant-level bees are very dangerous. I don't dare to go, said the boy. Then you know the place, right? So take me there. The two of them have arrived at the beast bee nest. Brother, are you sure you want to attack the beehive? For your ass, please continue the plan obediently. After this is done, I will give you some mutant-level beasts, said Hansen. Here we also know the boy's name, Nan. All right, I understand, said Nan, then carried out his plan. He also dropped something into the beast bee nest, making the bees rampage out. After that, Hansen began to finish off the bees with ease, and in the end, Hansen got a God's blood-level soul beast of the arrow type. Sen was very happy. Hansen had returned. While walking, he heard an announcement that the martial arts contest would soon begin, and the registration deadline was today. Hearing that, Hansen realized, damn, during my few days in the dark swamp, I forgot about this matter. Fortunately, I still have time to register. If I enter the top 10, then I can get a random God blood level soul beast. I must participate. Sen then registered himself.